Plat Chat Overwatch, episode 196. It's the biggest episode of the year. It's the Overwatch League playoffs episode. And we got everybody here. It's a 5-person podcast. They said you couldn't do it. It had to be 2-man person podcast, 3-person podcast. We got 5 people on here. It's going to be chaos. People are going to be talking over each other. They're going to be yelling at each other. It's going to be pandemonium. But I'm so psyched for episode 196.
Where's Matt, huh?
Wait, what?
Oh, you know. You know.
But he was back.
We needed the most.
Jaws killed him.
So, yeah.
You know, it's really funny. It's really funny too because people were complaining about the last Matt episode because they were like, "Oh, I hope they were going to talk about the playoffs format." And then
what did you think was going to happen when he
we didn't talk about that?
And
then he left. And then he's not back for this one either. So the one thing people wanted from Matt was not achieved.
Here's a fun fact from the Matt episode. Joel specifically requested not to be with him on that episode.
Yeah.
Nah, that's true. That's true.
I genuinely
he
think
didn't
that's
even
the reason
deny
why I
it. He
wasn't
just
on.
said, ha ha ha.
I mean, that's probably why I just assumed you guys didn't want me on that episode, to be honest with you. So that, you know what, fair enough.
So Matt was actually going to be on this episode too, but then I spoke to him and he was like, he was really tired because apparently he did something. So he was really tired. So
something.
That sounded sus
you mean
as fuck.
play like WoW or Valorant or something?
He was driving like a really far distance for like hours or something, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm fucking tired. I like drove for 5 hours or something."
Do you think you think they're like he's like delivering the new playoff format by hand to the league to Toronto? Do you think he drove cross country? But it's like one of those runners in ancient Greece where they had to run with it across the fucking peninsula to like make it. He had to just go the whole way to announce victory. Like that could be it.
Like the
that
Olympic
could be the
torch.
situation. Yeah, it's like, well, isn't that the word where the word like Nike comes from or whatever? Like that one.
Is that where
Greek
marathon
runner
comes from?
Or, yeah, it's like,
yeah,
but it's like the Greek, where it's like the ancient Greek word for like running or like victory or some shit.
Damn, Nike's been around that long. That's crazy, actually.
No,
That's crazy.
Wow.
I don't know when Matt will be back. Maybe next season. Next year, I guess. We'll see. I don't know. Matt just comes and goes. He's like an enigma. I don't know. So, but it's all 5 of us. I'm excited for this episode. It's gonna be fun because we got everyone's perspective going into the playoff episode. But first, guys, Manscaped. They're back for another week. And you know what? It's fresh face fall. Okay, fellas. Can you smell the pumpkin spice in the air? I don't think Solomon is ready for this. If you haven't heard, it's fresh face fall, and nobody else can give your face the love it needs other than our friends at Manscaped. The folks who changed below your belt are here to help you with their brand new Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Designed to give your face that smooth finish without the mess of a wet shave, it's a perfect tool for men with all beard lengths. Whether you're lining up your neckline or taking it all off to feel that autumn breeze, make sure to join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. And where's some of them? Where's some of them again? Where's some of the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer? Head over to manscaped.com and use code PLATCHAT for 20% off and free shipping. Don't be a bad apple this year. Choose Manscaped. So, you know, now you can I was going to make a joke about someone's beard here on the show, but apparently everyone shaves besides me. So,
well, you can't
I guess
mine, but I do need to shave.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay. You got that smoothening webcam or something? I don't know what's going on. But yes, this is...
No, I just can't grow facial hair, Johnny. You know, way to kick me when I'm down.
What are you going to shave then?
Look at this. Look at how smooth this is. This is so simple. You can take it with you. You can take it to Toronto. So we work on the broadcast. It's nice in general to be shaven, you know, clean shaven before every broadcast. Just take this with you. Bring it in your travel bag. Get a clean shave before the broadcast. Manscaped. It's so convenient. There you go.
Long hair leveler seems like an RPG character creation tool.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems like something that you could like change your hair with.
Well, it's like a setting you turn on and your hair goes.
It's like this is something that's in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, life kind of is an RPG, right? So
true.
Except there's no character creation at the beginning of it.
I'm character creating every day.
Well, not at the beginning, but there is some character creation.
But it's a randomizer. It's a randomizer.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get to pick the name anyway. I guess that's kind of important.
You get to pick. Did you pick your own name? I did not pick my name.
Well, I mean, there are name change services. If you want to change your name, there are name change services.
So, if you were to create a character, the character isn't always you. You can still create the character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have a child, you're creating a new character. Yeah. It is you.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, but only half of you, and you do get to name this character, and you get to, you know, have a brand new character you can vicariously live through. That's the point.
As you can see, we're all taking biology lessons right here. Like, we're going to be biology teachers by the end of this episode.
Oh, well, look, just to wrap it up, you know, I honestly think, like, shaving my face is honestly, like, one of the things that I'm just like, oh, it feels like a chore. It feels like a chore. So, here we go. Manscaped, handyman, makes it simple for you. Use code PLATCHAT for 20% off plus free shipping. So, there you go. Check out the Handyman Compact Face Shaver from Manscaped. And the Performance Package 4, though. Always check out the Performance Package. But there you go. Thank you, Manscaped, for all the support. As always, we appreciate it. All right. Getting into the Overwatch League playoffs. So, I think what we're going to do this podcast is we're going to be talking about the two different groups, starting off with a drawing, kind of. And we'll just go over each team, one by one. And then at the end of the episode, we'll do a pick and bracket and do a Plat Chat pick and bracket. And we'll all have everyone's perspective, okay? So this is going to be the most knowledgeable Plat Chat bracket made to date, okay? We got the community's greatest experts on call. Except we don't have a Screambox expert, but maybe someone can step in and fill that role. It's an RPG, okay? Role play.
I have some Screambox.
Yeah, I feel like we have some Screambox.
I've heard some. Also, Mayhem's done.
Well, we have to save that for the later part. But let me just say, it's looking good. Let's just say it's looking good.
I'm just saying shit. Like, he has no fucking idea.
I'm not saying shit. I'm not saying. I'm literally saying I have some Screambox, a limited amount, obviously. I have some.
No, yeah, you don't even work there anymore. You're not even in the office anymore. You're in your fucking beanie, living your hipster life. You're probably at a coffee shop right now. Like, let's be honest.
This, as you can see here.
Okay, never mind.
This is our coffee cat too. There she is. That's
Yo,
cat.
Did you just move?
Yeah, I moved to a new location. I'm in a 2-bedroom now, not a 1-bedroom. So I have a dedicated office.
Whoa! Wow!
Yeah.
Full-time streamer. When do the nano leaves go up?
Things are looking up.
Leaves.
You know, so let's just say that
things are looking good for Avast.
I have no.
Same,
Esports,
bro.
baby.
Same. Yeah.
Esports, let's go.
He's only got one Twitch money. At a time. Can't get them all.
Twitch money. Yeah, you.
That's true. I did finally get. I did get the backdated Twitch payment after 7 months. So thank you, Twitch. Thank you very much.
You got a 2-bedroom. All right. So, do we want to chat a little bit about? Well, Matt's not here, right? So, do you want to chat a little bit about how the bracket came to be in the post-show drawing?
Sure. Where, let's talk about that.
No one. Look. No one. We talked to the players. We talked to the coaches. Well, the players weren't there, but the coaches, the general managers. No one really knew that apparently Seoul Infernal were the first seed from APAC, and so everyone's prep kind of went out the window, and everyone thought Hangzhou Spark were going to be the first team that drafted, and so Atlanta Reign, you know, they got to pick first because they were the first number overall seed, the one mid-season madness and all that stuff. So they sent over one of these teams. I can't even remember who they shipped over first. It was probably Houston or Florida.
Was it Houston or?
It was probably Florida, right? Yeah, they might ship weather over. But then Seoul Infernal shipped over London Spitfire to Atlanta Reign's group. A lot of discussion, commotion about this entire thing. We've done some of these shows in the past, but this was a different drawing format where you picked like the other group's opponents, where instead of picking your own opponent. What was the vibe? What was the vibe following this madness of a show?
Vibe.
Yes.
One second.
Like really, the team should have just picked their own opponents, right? I mean, that would have been simpler.
Yeah.
What is the benefit of choosing the other team to go against, like the opposite side of the group? Is it like literally like a participation award where you don't want to have to choose your opponents? Because I feel like that's always been a really fun aspect of Overwatch. Like, it's always been fun when teams have chosen each other. I think it creates more banter because there's a more direct competition, right? Like, even the interviews that they did after where the teams are facing each other, it's like, how do you feel about this? It's like, I don't know, it wasn't our choice. Cool. Like, it's lit, stuff like that. At least in the past, teams could throw a bit of flavor and be like, We just don't think they're very good, or they're a one-trick team, or all that kind of stuff. Also, let's be honest, Seoul Infernal, there's no chance that they actually meant to do that with London Spitfire. They absolutely fucked up and didn't.
No, they did. They did. Albert.
No, I will not be convinced otherwise. You can give me reason and logic.
I'm literally telling you the fact. I'm just telling you what happened.
L plus ratio. I don't care.
I'm just telling you what happened. They had a call. Him and Roston had a call because Roston didn't know what the fuck was happening. And Roston was like, so we're picking our opponent. And then Albert's like, yes, this is how it works. And Roston said, okay. And then Roston was like, yeah, we're going to pick. Like, this is a confirmed 100% he chose to do this on purpose move. So.
Is there any validity to sending away the Rhine team? Like, you don't want to play the Rhine team?
I think there's an insane amount of validity with it personally. I think, like, it makes sense in the context of, like, okay, wait, let me switch real quick. I'm gonna say my personal piece. I literally don't give a fuck about the picking teams or like anything of this. This is all just like, oh, you know, there's like different ways we could have done it, like whatever. That's not really the issue here, okay? The issue here is more than anything else is one second. Is here.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck, bro? Bro, you can't be doing that shit. What the fuck, man? Bro, it's an audio podcast. People are like at work, they're on the bus. And you just fucked the entire audio. Dude, you can't be doing that shit.
Now, imagine someone in their car, like, and he's just blaring out the whole car is shaking.
So to me, I don't give a shit about any of this, like, because essentially all the picking of the teams like that, you can debate the validity of this. It's just like at the end of the day, that's largely irrelevant to the wider
Someone
issue
just
of the
swerved into the other lane or something.
That's largely. I just found it funny because of how echoey this room is right now. When I put the webcam mic on, it sounds insane.
I have no idea what you said. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what you said.
Pretty much the point here is that I think it's valid because of the fact because this playoff bracket is busted and terrible. The format is so bad that like sending London to the other bracket is actually really good for teams because essentially you would rather not have to play the Ryan team at all on your side of the bracket because if you make it to the semifinals, you are punished. You literally get punished for losing the semifinals, like winning out your first two matches. So you want London on the other side of the bracket, so you can just get rid of them and not have to prep. You know, because if you win your first two matches, then you play London, and then you're just out. Then you have to go play the fucking useless third place match that no one wants to watch. No one wants to watch a third place match.
But wait, isn't your logic wrong then? Because isn't in the way that they've done it now, Seoul Infernal probably will have to play. If London Spitfire is really good and Seoul Infernal are really good, they will play them in the semifinals. If they both win 2-0 out, they'll meet each other.
No, because they're on opposite sides of the bracket.
No, but match 1 is bracket 1, match 4 winner, and match 5 winner. So if they go down to the lower bracket, then maybe.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought the brackets are separated.
And this is the problem with the bracket. This is the problem. It is very unclear what I'm. I
thought the bracket was still separated entirely, so that made sense to me when London went to the other side. Because like, oh, okay, they don't want to play them at all. Now I'm like, okay, I don't fucking understand because you are punished for losing later in the bracket as opposed to losing earlier. So I actually don't know at all what the fuck the point of that was.
I'll cook a little bit.
I'm not a bracket guy at all. And this is my main problem with the bracket. If I don't understand it and I'm on the broadcast, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm kind of dumb when it comes to brackets, but like I'm just a simple man. I just want double limb, like normal bracket kind of thing, you know, sorted by seed or whatever. But if I don't understand it, and especially using this graphic, holy shit, the audience are not going to understand that shit at all. Unless there's some like giant, humongous brain heads out there in the fucking audience, which there probably are, that understand this kind of thing. And it's obviously a GSL kind of bracket, so you can kind of look back and see how they've done it. But this, yeah, with the arrows, thank you, Solomon. Like it also just doesn't kind of make sense. And yeah, if it throws me off that early on, and like I've seen this shit before everybody else has, then holy fuck, man. What a chance do other people have.
Yeah.
The whole thing was confusing.
Yeah, anyone who says like, "Oh, you just have to be smart to understand the bracket." I understand this bracket really fucking well.
You should have to have 2 IQ and understand the bracket. That's the point.
That is the inherent problem. Is you want fucking Timmy, who's never watched the Overwatch League in the last 4 years, to show up and know what the fuck they're looking at, and no one's going to be able to do that.
Let me talk about this Infernal sending London across situation. If I had to cook slightly in my brain for Ross and try to figure out what the hell he was doing on Infernal's side, I think we could still have a decent amount of Ryan in the playoffs patch. I don't know, like I don't have solid scrim bucks, but it sounds like Ryan is actually still pretty viable. Let's be clear. It's very likely Spitfire will just continue playing the same thing. I think what Connor said about the prep is actually important. If you are in the Group B bracket, you just don't have to prep for Ryan at all, which is maybe a positive in terms of if you're just going to optimize for winning your group or getting out of your group. Yeah, I mean, I think people underestimate London. I think London could actually be a threat in this playoffs. Like they are, they like to me are a real dark horse team in this bracket in the entire playoffs, really.
Yeah, I think everyone agreed, like, especially because Ryan versus Zaya has always been a matchup that's, like, kind of weird. We haven't seen it much in Overwatch 2, but, like, absolutely, like, Reinhardt could just play faster than the Zaya, right?
Remember was it Kickoff Clash? I remember distinctly Dallas Fuel lost that tournament because they were locked in for a Zarya meta. That was when Hanbin was ripping people's faces on Zarya. And Glads beat them with Reiner playing Ryan. Like, Gladiators that tournament had a really good rotation of heroes between Doom, Zarya, and Ryan. And they counter-comped Dallas Fuel Zarya with their Ryan comp, and that ended up winning them the entire tournament. So historically, even in Overwatch 2, I think Ryan has had an amazing matchup in Zarya.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think that's about.
Okay. So let's start with each group and talk about some of the teams individually. Since we're talking about London Spitfire in Group A,
I just want to keep moaning about the bracket. I'm not going to lie to you.
Shut your ass up. Shut your ass up. We're going to spend 2 hours complaining about the bracket.
Thing, please, which I've been saying this whole season as well. Can we just keep the format the same?
Jack, it's fucking over.
Season?
It's over. It's the last season. It's the last season. It's the last playoffs of the last fucking season. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear this shit anymore, Jack. It's fucking over. Just fucking deal with it. We have one more weekend coming up this weekend, and then we fucking we move on to with our lives. Okay, let's just
abolish Plat Chat LLC. Abolish it. We don't need to run this podcast anymore.
The Valorant show. The Valorant show, guys.
We're spiraling. We're spiraling over here. Oh my god. Oh my god, here tensions are high.
I just wanted to shout out Solomon because he just put all the teams in a double Elam bracket. I'm like, yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yeah,
and that was that. Like, look at that. And I was like, yeah, why didn't we just do this? Like, we literally did this last year, and it worked.
The funniest thing that you put Solomon as well is like it's literally 14 matches as well. Like
it's the same number of matches. Literally the same number of matches. And the crazy part too. Here's the other fun part too. Of this bracket, there's going to be 4 matches on Grand. There's going to be like 3 or 4 matches on Grand Finals day. There's going to be like because instead of spreading, so we're going to have the Grand Finals, then the 2 semis and the 3rd place match all the same day. Why would we do that? Like, why would we do that? And I understand because the 3rd place match is like, oh, it's the break. Why not just shift more matches to the earlier days? Why do we have to do that? Like,
you lose team integrity of like. One semifinals team got to play yesterday, so the other one didn't have to play today. And then, so you kind of, the way the format is, you have to play the 4 matches. And that's another problem with the format, is that it, like, you have to play both semifinals and the grand finals on the same day, or you have to split up those at the grand finals.
This is why the double Elam bracket worked, because you go 4-4-4-2. Like, it was perfect. We already did that in the past.
Guys, it's not changing. Am I the only one in the acceptance phase of grief?
I know,
like,
it's not that we understand it's gonna stay the same. We're just gonna mold still. We're just gonna mold over it.
I'm getting the mold out because this will be the last time
we can't complain about it once we get there.
Yeah, I guess this is the last time you guys get to mold about the format. So go ahead.
Get it out the system, and then
get out the system. Yeah.
Let's just do it in person, bro. Johnny, we got a 4-hour flight, bro. I can go forever.
Like, I don't want to be done
different flight from Jack. I don't
want to be done complaining by the time we get there. Essentially, I want to get there and just accept it.
I am purposely buying like an upgraded seat so Jaws can't sit next to me. There's no way Jack will pay like $80 for a premium economy seat.
So I'm serious?
I thought you did some leg room. You're a tall man, dude. I thought you just needed more leg room, personally.
Yeah, exactly. No, honestly, I mean that's why I did it, because like leg room for me on an economy flight is literally the bane of my existence. But yes, Jaws. I mean, yeah, sure, you can mold about the format to me tomorrow. If I have my AirPods in, don't worry. It's just
I'll be asleep, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's just like
I get up early anyway, but like holy shit, tomorrow's gonna be pain.
Yeah. Look, I think literally all 5 of us would prefer the double limb format, just like basic lower bracket, upper bracket stuff, because it works. It works, guys. We've proven it multiple times that it works. So
well, it's not even just that it works. Third place match. Third place match. Yeah. Like what? Like why? Why on God? Like literally to me, and I could forgive other things if it was bad. This is like it's just a mulligan. It's a mulligan. No one gives a shit about the third place match. No one fucking cares. No one cares who comes third place in the tournament. We want to see a match that matters because it's the playoffs. Like the third place, this match would matter if it advanced you to another chance. If it was perhaps a lower grand finals, but like it's not. It's that to me. If this is the most, I think we could do all sorts of other fucked up arcane combinations of things. If there wasn't, the third place match was just removed. It was excised. I would be okay with some sort of weird esoteric format where Sean Miller and everyone got together, enchanted to Cthulhu and a fucking ritual circle, and then made some sort of weird ass fucking bracket.
What are you saying?
And then there's no and then it's like the weirdest format we've ever fucking seen. But if there's third place match is fucking heinous. It is a heinous thing. No one wants to see a third place match. That to me is my biggest maul of the whole thing because I don't want to go to a tournament, the playoffs, and see a match. These teams are doing nothing. What are they playing for? They're playing for nothing. There's literally no stakes.
And they're paying for $90,000.
Money.
That's like that. But the thing is, it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. And B, to the audience, to the broadcast, like it's just a match that you're watching that has no impact on the rest of the tournament. Like it's just a poor product. It's just not good.
After that entire rant, the funniest thing now would be if Florida end up playing the third place match.
That would be the thing is BP predicted us to go play the third place match in his prediction. So after that, like let me just say that like that would be heinous. And as someone that controls the brand account, I will have to restrain myself significantly if that were to occur.
Do you think any of the teams troll? Do you think teams troll in the third place match?
I don't think they would troll because, like, obviously to a team,
still money on the line
it still matters to a team. But the point about the third place match is that it's deflating to teams because once you make it, like, because the thing is, you could play perfectly, and then because you lose once in the semifinals, then you're in a third place match, and there's nothing you can't get out. You're stuck. You're literally bogged. Even though you won your first two matches, and you lost in the semis. And it's like, how is that, like, then teams that lost earlier get greater chances than you, essentially? Like, you get more opportunities to bring it back. And so you're stuck in a match that doesn't matter after performing well. So it's just morally, it's just your morale is gone. You know what? And obviously, like, it's just a useless thing. I don't think anyone would troll.
I will be personally waiting. I'll be ready for the Albert tweet if that happens.
I will have to hold back on the Mayhem account quite terribly on that one if that were to occur.
Last day is going to be crazy. Actually, holy matches. Like, that is going to be a ridiculous day. I mean, the bright spot there is like, hey, we get to see a lot of Overwatch on that day, right? I mean,
like the thing is, it's like it's still cool. 14. It's going to be a good. Like, I think the event's still going to be great.
Is the finals best of 5?
No, it'll be best.
No,
it'll be it'll be 7. Yeah, it'll be best of 7.
It'll be like first. It'll be probably like first to 4, right?
On Wikipedia, it says playoffs. All matches are best of 5.
There's no way.
The grand finals is probably first to 4, I imagine.
There's no way grand finals is
also, they're not BO5. Aren't they first to 3s, not BO5s? Or are they actually BO5s?
Yeah, it's the same. Right?
Okay. Yeah, first to 3.
They're not the same because if we draw.
I know, but like for the ease of Timmy Brain.
Yeah, first to 3.
It's the same thing.
First to 3.
Okay.
I'm just asking because having like 3 matches that are first to 3 and then having a first to 4 match. Like, we might be there for a while. Like, we might be there for a while.
It's 4 matches, and maybe the finals goes to, as a potential 7 mapper. How are we going to fit in the musical act, guys? Come on.
Oh my
god. Musical act.
Is Seth coming back? Are we getting Seth again?
I hope we get someone like just crazy out of left.
We should do Khaled again. We should start with DJ Khaled season 1 and end with DJ Khaled.
I want the London Spitfire. I want that dual artist. I want them. I want a Spitfire live in person. That's
dude.
What I
imagine
want.
They show up. That would be hype as fuck.
I need that in my life.
That would be a banger for sure.
All right, we're done molding about the format.
Yeah, that's my mold. I'm done molding. I will put no more mold out. Okay, I'm retaining it now.
Yeah, I think the listeners got the point, guys. I think they got the point that you guys were trying to make. All right, moving on. So Group A, London Spitfire. Since we're not on the topic of London Spitfire, but let's start with London Spitfire. They are in Group A alongside Atlanta Reign, Hangzhou Spark, and the Boston Uprising, playing Reinhardt compositions. And it seems, like you guys said, that Reinhardt is quite viable for the playoffs because of the Zarya versus Reinhardt matchup. you guys know the Screenbox that I do, that, you know, some teams are even flirting with playing Reinhardt themselves that are not London Spitfire, right? So Reinhardt definitely seems viable. Dark horse of the tournament, do we think they can make it out of groups?
London Spitfire? I think there's a good potential, yeah. Any kind of patch change, I think, kind of enables teams that are very, very strong at one comp. London Spitfire have been one-tricking the comp this whole time. They're just so good at it. The whole like sim shit too is just insane. I don't know if people can kind of catch up on this short window that they have on this patch change compared to London, who have been playing the same shit for half a season. I think there's a decent chance. I think it's likely. No, I don't know. I'd give him like a 60% maybe making it.
I don't think any team is going to attempt to play Ryan just because like Sim, yes, because like teams like Fuel obviously have been playing Sim still, but like you just won't. There's no point to mirror the Ryan because there's only a couple players in the playoffs where the Ryan would be a good matchup for them comparatively, especially when you're playing into the best May in the league of Backbone. Like it's just not gonna be like a great matchup.
Is he gonna play May?
I mean, there's no guarantee he'll play May, but it's very
the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's no guarantee he's gonna play May. I'm just saying, like, if you wanted to go to a Ryan matchup, though, like, there's a very strong. Then, like, you could just pull out the May, right? So it's like, I think like overall they're gonna be the only team to play the Ryan for the most part, unless it's like someone's been cooking, because like everyone else, from what it sounds like, has been practicing Zarya and Junker Queen pretty much exclusively.
I think there's a potential that teams do pull out the Ryan, but just not against London. I think they'll try and opt for something else.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. Very possible.
This bracket is really like, obviously, I think most of us probably favor Reign Boston, but the thing about this bracket is you have two teams potentially off meta here, which makes preparation for this bracket really awkward. Pretty certain that both Spark and Spitfire are going to off meta, whereas the other bracket is like way more standard. Probably everyone's going to end up playing Zarya or something like that. We know that Houston just signed Bernar. We can talk about that later. Scott's been teasing that the Atlanta trialing a player or some shit. Like that was like huge news last week, apparently.
I mean, that is a rumor that's been floating around. I just don't know. Like,
I don't think it's like this. Like, for me, it's not like huge news. Like, I don't think it's dramatically changes. That shit would suck for Hawk. You spend the entire time on the bench, the entire season as an off-tank player, not playing because you're an off-tank player, and then we get to an off-tank meta, and then maybe he doesn't cut it, or maybe something happens and they end up getting a different player. That would just suck, and that would really make the whole point that this like postseason is a little weird because teams can just sign players at the last second to like completely change what the, I guess, dichotomy of their team is kind of weird. But
the biggest thing to talk about is like, if London could make it out of this group, who doesn't make it between the other three teams? Like, you know, as we said, it probably Atlanta,
Spark.
Boston. Yeah, okay, sure, but Atlanta, Boston being the favorites. One of them would have to miss it if London make it, right? So
yeah.
London did lose to Boston earlier.
I think we can hit that more when we make our pick and bracket. But I want to get through some of these teams. London Spitfire, they're playing the Boston Uprising. Scott, I'm gonna ask you now. Smurf has played a little bit of Ryan this season. Do you think they're just like benching Smurf and playing Kali or Zarya permanently if Zarya is the meta, or do you think there's a small chance that Boston Uprising maybe Reinhardt or something like that?
Well,
there we go.
There it is.
I think I agree with everyone else that I don't think you should ever play Reinhardt versus London. I think that's like a death wish. I think there are ways to beat it. Boston literally beat London, what was it, a week ago when they beat them in the upper bracket. Yes, that was a slightly different meta, but I don't think London's composition is like infallible. Like, I think it has its weaknesses. I think at some point it has its expiry date. And let's remember, nothing in the patch made Ryan stronger. So you could potentially even play the things that, like, what Boston played here to beat London like a week ago. What stops them from just playing that again? Were there any major nerfs? Like, the only thing
not to any of these characters, really.
Yeah, the only thing that... was there a Bastion nerf? I'm trying to remember.
No, that is not in this patch.
Not in this patch. Yeah.
So it's like... So Boston could literally... London. Yeah, so Boston could literally just play... The only thing that really changed majorly in this patch is the buff of Zarya, right? Like, that's really, like, the big thing we're focusing on. But you don't have to play Zarya. And, you know, they've showed they can play some Junker Queen. There are other options against the Reinhardt.
Hugh got a buff, right? She got a small one.
She got the buff, yes. But essentially, like the thing is, their comp like that they played to beat London before is exactly right, Scott. Like they could just play the same thing again. They could literally play the same comp again and win again. Or that now they have more options that are viable too, because now Zarya is good too, and they have a good Zarya player.
Bastion did get a change, and so did May. And so Yeah, so impact damage from the tac nade, from Bash and the grenade, has been halved.
Yeah, I thought that
was
was
impact, and then he can no longer crit. I don't know if we saw that in the Overwatch.
Oh, with the mortar. Yeah, we did see one kill. We did see one mortar kill
with a crit.
It was. Not a bug. I don't know if it was a bug.
If the projectile literally just smacks your head, but it's like the chance of that happening are just
like a
which we saw.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
You did see it. Yeah, you did see it, which is crazy.
We saw it once.
But May did get a change too, so damage increased from 65 to 70 on just the left click. Duration slow falls off between prime and fair increase. Okay, so the slow fall off has been increased as well, and then deep chiller passive. So like nothing crazy across the board, but like yeah, I mean,
if anything, I think that hurts London more.
Yeah, the May change is definitely.
They were not playing May though.
It doesn't matter anyway.
No,
they were playing May on certain maps. But
also, the Bastion change is still a really big change for both London and Boston, but mostly even more so for London, because the thing is, London really heavily relied on, they would pop a window with Landon and get a grenade and just like insta boom somebody with the grenade. Yeah. So there's a chance, and also just the grenades in general. Yeah, just the impact damage matters. But the impact damage doesn't matter for the insta delete. Yeah, it could save someone's life. It could save someone's life. I'm not sure about all the breakpoints though. Honestly, I'm not sure about the breakpoints. But like the thing is, I'm just saying the Bastion change is probably a more impactful change than the May change for London, considering how they've been playing.
And there's also a very minor Orisa nerf as well, 2-4 to 5.
Which is I mean that is like largely not a big deal, because I will say that like I don't think Orisa, what Boston playing this Orisa, I think this Orisa was actually pretty good into London. But like the nerf isn't like significant enough to really change that matchup that much. So
yeah, it looks like it still might do 100. I don't know what I'm looking at here on this Wikipedia. Overwatch Wikipedia is saying it's still 100 damage if it hits you. 15 damage. So I think the 85 is the explosion and 15 is direct. So it might still one-shot you through windows. I don't know the exact on that. But
it's still strong in the neutrals too.
My point is, I don't think it's all of a sudden like everyone has to play Xayah and all of a sudden the Reinhardt works versus Xayah, so people might lose to London. Like obviously the major advantage that the London Spitfire have is that they've been playing this fucking comp for the last 3 years. It feels like they're just the best at it. They have the best Symmetra teleporters. But the problem that London's always run into is once you get to a certain point where like the other teams can just like out mechanic you, they always seem to fall short, right? And that was Boston in the play-ins bracket, right? They're going to be playing against some very strong teams. Yes, they'll catch some off guard. I don't think it's just like, I don't agree with Jack with 60% they make it out of the bracket. Against Atlanta and Boston, and even maybe some wackiness from the Hangzhou Spark could throw even London off. Like, I think it's more like, I would say like 20 or 30% for London. Like, they obviously had their style of playing, but if it doesn't work, let's be honest. If the Reinhardt doesn't work for them, it's Jova. Like, there's no coming back from that.
I actually think London is a far better matchup into both Atlanta and Boston than they do into Hangzhou. Because Hangzhou they're an off-meta team as well. It's likely they'll play more dive stuff. It's clear they're not going to have a Zarya player. They didn't sign anyone. They weren't planning on signing anyone by the looks of it. They probably weren't going to get visas in time anyway. It took them till the last minute to get visas, and they got all these delays happening to even get to Toronto. Yushua's not a Zarya player. They're going to play Winston. They're going to play Doom. They're going to play, I don't know, dive characters. And I actually think that matchup is really good into Ryan. Like, you can do a lot of stuff that I think London as a team, like, it'll be weird for them to play into. They're far better at playing a Ryan into a Zarya, or Ryan into even a Jungle Queen, if that's what Boston and Smurf want to do again, or even into an Orisa. Like, that's a far more straightforward matchup for them. It's a really insane bracket, that Group A, just because of the two off-meta teams, and the off-metas are also in separate directions as well. So if both London and Hangzhou get sent to the lower bracket, I mean, that's actually not an easy game for London, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. So sticking on Boston Uprising a little bit before we jump over to Atlanta and Hangzhou Spark, I'm going to ask you, Jaws, as the Boston Uprising supporter in the call right here. Just talking big picture, holistically, based on Boston Uprising's entire season, like regular season, mid-season madness and whatnot, how do you view them like going into the playoffs? Do you think they're like a top 3 team? Do you think they're like pretty comparable to these Florida Mayhem, Houston Outlaws, or do you think that they're a little bit of an underdog perhaps? How do you view of Boston Uprising's chances of winning like the entire thing with their current roster?
Best team in the league.
Oh my God.
Come on now.
What do you mean by Jack?
Okay. Listen up. All right. Okay. They're probably not gonna. From my read and like how this shit's gonna go down, I think they're actually just gonna rely on Kalios a lot more. I guess depending on the matchup too. But Kalios on Zarya, you give them the nano from Twilight, they're gonna go crazy. But in realistically though, with Birdring and Decay, how flexible they are, I don't think there's gonna be a point in which they end up just kind of falling over. If we are going towards the Zarya, it's gonna be a lot of kind of flankers or like enabling flankers. So we're gonna see a lot of Genji, Decay on Genji, although he did get flattened by Hardy the other day on the Rhine. And then Birdring just on any hit scan. I think they've got a really good chance. And I don't know if the Atlanta Reign tiling, if that's actually gonna happen. And if it does, that team is gonna be not on the same level, I don't think, as when it's like before they actually entered the playoffs. Like that team has been playing with Dongan/Hawk a little bit at the start of the season for like so long. If they now randomly come up with this other off tank that's going to come in, are they going to be as good as they have been in the last few weeks? I don't think so at all. I think Boston have an incredibly good chance of making it out. In fact, it's got to be like 90+% for sure. Like being genuine as well. Like I think with London Spitfire and their like abilities kind of handle the Zarya comps, I think maybe is going to be their one weakness. I'm not sure, but I think Boston have a ridiculously good chance. I think they'll still probably get beaten by teams like Mayhem and Houston. Well, depending on Houston, I feel like I'm iffy with Outlaws more than any other team right now in the brackets that aren't the APAC teams. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but I think Boston, they're going to have a pretty decent time just on the flexibility alone, and them having Kalios. And also could rely on Smurf if they want to play something like a Winston. I don't think they'll play Ryan though.
Custa, do you think that the fact that some of these teams don't have a proper Zarya player, like Atlanta Reign, don't probably, I mean, they have Hawk, of course, who is a really good off tank, but Florida Mayhem, they'll probably have someone playing the Zarya, right? Houston Outlaws, we haven't talked about it yet, but they signed Bernar. Do you think Boston Uprising, the fact that they already have Kalios on their team, they have Decay playing Genji and Birdring as their hit scan, do you think that three-part kind of core in this meta actually gives them a leg up against the likes of Houston Outlaws, Florida Mayhem? Do you think this would be a really good meta for them come playoffs?
I think Boston run into the conundrum that like we've seen so many teams run into throughout the history of Overwatch League, where it's like, hey, you have this off-tank player who can play this off-tank hero that's really good. You also have Smurf, who's considered one of the best tanks of all time, who probably has a lot of leadership, adds a lot to the roster. Do you really want to pull him out to put Kalios, who's probably more comfortable on the Zarya? Like, we've seen Kalios come in multiple times throughout this season, I think, to mixed results, to, like, back and forth. I think Kalios is going to be more than an adept on the Zarya, but the question that I have is that the direction that Boston wants to go? I think Boston has a lot of variance for me in terms of like where I think they're going to stand. They're a team that I think they've shown whenever they can just play mechanical heroes, they can pop off. So maybe that could be the difference maker, but we'll see. I don't know. Like Boston is like an enigma. They're like, I would say they're the other team that has like the second most variance in my opinion going into this playoff. So they could be really fucking good, or they could also show up and they could just be like, yeah, we didn't have a great read on the meta. Or like, we tried to play Kalios and it didn't work or something like that. I just don't think I can agree with that. Scenarios.
Like, going into a new meta, I think relying on picks that you're familiar with and relying on more high skill, like mechanical picks is going to be way better for you. Way better than like having a solid unless you're London Spitfire who's just run the same thing every single fucking week, right? But like I just think it's way better for a team to have mechanical gods on some of their best picks and then running into a new meta versus teams that are trying to figure out everything and trying to figure out every small and like eke every little percentage out of the meta and out of their picks.
Let me counter you with, okay, well, what about last season when Seoul Dynasty tried to do that? They tried to play mechanical heroes, tried to play Roadhog to counter, and then they just got fucking overrun by teamwork of Winston, Lucio, Kiriko. They like, and all of a sudden, support. Profit went to support. They turbo inted onto like this like mechanical comp of like putting roles. Profit. Like, but like they tried to play mechanics. Like that's what they did. They were like, if we get Profit onto the big damage support, then we can win, but then they just lose to teamwork.
They're not swapping roles, and these picks are still going to be good. Those picks are just bad. Like, they straight up bad. Like, you can't say that those comps were good. I don't think that's really much of a comparison there, because that comp was just tragic. Their read was just off completely. Sure, it's high mechanical heroes and shit, but, like, the picks were fucking bad, and they're also off-rolling. So,
what picks are you wanting Boston to come out on that's going to make them super strong?
Genji hit scan could be like Sojourn or something like that, or even someone if you really want to, like Genji Tracer, Zarya. But that's the thing. I do agree with you on that. Zarya is going to be a bit of a problem because I do think Smurf can probably play at a super high level, but it is more of a Kalios pick. But I just don't see Smurf getting kind of pushed around on Zarya when he picks it up. He's just so good at the game, and then the backline's always been super dependent. Well, it's been super dependable most of the time. Sometimes they slip up just a little bit, but I think overall, I just don't see them like falling over because they can play more comfort heroes in this meta.
I think I don't see them falling over either. I think that the difference that we have is that like you seem pretty confident that they're gonna make it out of a group with Atlanta, with Hangzhou and London, and I think they could run it. Like, to exactly what AVRL was saying, is it's a fucking weird group. It's not going to just be like you're going head-to-head with mechanics and we're both playing Zarya or we're both playing meta. I think there's going to be a lot of curveballs thrown in this group.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the other teams in the group. So, AVRL, everyone's talking about Atlanta Reign. Everyone's talking about Boston Uprising with their legendary roster. Talking about London Spitfire, one-tricking Reinhardt and being amazing and setting the precedent for all the other teams, okay? Just no four of us are here. It's just you, okay? Set the stage. How does the Hangzhou Spark come in an off meta and just dominate the Western region with GuShui playing tank and Shy and leave? How do they do it?
I have no idea how the dive meta is going to look into the Zarya. I'm pretty sure they're just going to play Winston or Doom. But like,
I mean, it's not the most terrible matchup.
No, I'm debating in my mind, like, is this patch better for Hangzhou or is it worse? Because so much of me before was like, man, I think Hangzhou just got screwed by this patch. Like, seriously, because, you know, they can't play Zarya meta. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, the more I think about it, Zarya into Winston, it's not that bad. It's not awful. And, you know, we talk about some of the other pieces in the meta, like what's looking good. Genji's still looking good. Great. Leave will show up on the Genji. Not a problem. Leave and Shy.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they have the raw mechanics and firepower with Shy and Leave and GuShui on the tank to just like steamroll the other teams that are trying to play Zarya or other stuff like that?
This is one of the teams that is like the most pure raw mechanics, like I think in the entire Overwatch League in terms of like they probably rely more on that than they do on teamwork, because I've seen plenty of teamwork lapses in the Hangzhou Spark, but how they make their comebacks happen and how they make plays happen, how they get advantages is just with pure mechanical outplays. Maybe that's easier to do in the East with less teams and like less teams able to challenge them on mechanics. But I mean, you want to play a composition that's going to reward you for mechanics. It's going to be a dive comp. It's going to be, you know, the Genjis, the Tracers, the Echoes, which I think based on the map pool, there's still going to be like an Ilios. Echoes is still going to be in the play. Still decent matchup. Sojourn as well. Like if Sojourn comes back in the meta, bro, that's Shy's hero, man. He's been waiting to play that hero again. So there's plenty of things, especially the DPS side. Everything on the front line side is very strong mechanically. Like, as far as, you know, I don't think any other team's really going to playing the dive. I was going to say, like, you wouldn't want to be in a dive mirror versus Hangzhou. I'm sure, like, Fearless wouldn't mind, but it seems like he's going to get benched for Bernar, and they're on different sides of the groups anyway. So there's no really, you know, I don't think Boston's going to end up playing dive. I think they're pretty, maybe Smurf could look at it. Boston's actually flexible enough to do that. Yeah, like, I think Hangzhou, mechanics-wise, have a good shot. I just don't know how the meta is going to look for them in terms of what their actual meta strength looks like versus the Zarya meta and what the specific hero surrounding the Zarya is. But I'm also concerned about the Hangzhou Spark's lack of potential practice coming in, given that their schedule for travel is a little bit more scuffed. I don't know if people have been following up on that, but like, they're not going to be going to Toronto until... No, I don't think Sparks... I think they're going through Hong Kong and traveling to... I don't know. Based on what GuShui was saying on stream, it seemed like their travel was going to be later than the other teams, and they were going to arrive later than the other teams, which is going to impact their preparation, obviously. So
yeah, that would be pretty brutal, especially because like I think the meta is going to be... I think that's going to be their biggest concern for the Spark is the meta matchup, because tank-wise, I think they have some decent options with a Winston and Doom to play into like a Zarya meta. I think their biggest problem is how do they keep their like how does the backline matchup work? Because like they were playing a lot of like, you know, like if you notice here in this match, but like, I mean, there's been like, if they play like Ana and such into Zarya, I think that's a really good matchup for teams because you just bubble all the antis. You know, you can just bubble antis. You can just like engage really quickly and like block a lot of, and get a lot of value, get in their face really quickly. And Zarya is really tanky, so she won't go down to like the antis or anything. So I feel like to me, Spark has a lot of meta adjustment. They could play Xin, but the problem with playing Xin is that Xin still won't burn. They still won't burn a Zarya fast enough if they're engaging on your backline, unless you're playing like Lucio Xin, right? Because of the prac, like you could make it work with like a Brigida Xin potentially or a BAP Xin. But the thing is that like you should, I think if you have enough burst damage and the Zarya can just like double, even if the Zarya has to double like bubble herself, but like you can just like bubble a Genji, force a lamp immediately, and then still if you just like hide from damage for a bit, you can just like bubble yourself. You know, like I think it's a hard pick. This team definitely relies on the Ana to bail out the Gushui dive heroes. Exactly, like and I think that's the bad matchup there, more so than the tank matchup is going to be their backline, and that's something that you're only really going to be able to assess if you get practice time. And if they have a bad practice schedule, then it's going to be really tough for them. In terms of mechanics, I see the most weakness of the backline. That's been true for the entire season, but like that's going to be the sore point. But then again, it's like I don't know what is going to threaten the backline in this sort of meta. Like, how brawly is the Zarya comp? Is there going to be... Very brawly. Extremely brawly. It's like... So, like, how much backline pressures are going to be? Sure. You're like a lot of, like... It's a lot of, like... You're pretty much enabling the whole point. So I guess what I'm trying to get towards is, like, how vulnerable is the backline going to be? It's mostly just Genji dive in there. And if the backline isn't, like, hyper vulnerable, then I think Hangzhou can shore up on their weaknesses. There's a chance. Yeah. And sort of make their front line work, because that's where their power is. You know, this is a team that is like, this is really a glass cannon team for real. Like, they super front loaded in damage, but the defense stats are pretty bad. Is if we're going to look at like an RPG character, right? RPG. I also think the other thing too is that like they're for Spark, because of this backline matchup that's occurring, they're like, their best bet is hoping to like get those great dives and isolate. But like a lot of teams are, if you're doing like a backline race, like a Lucio BAP comp is going to be a lot more survivable than like any Ana comp for the most part. So like that's the other problem too, is that like they're playing, their win condition typically is like, because you can't win the flank battle, because the flank battle, your Zarya is just going to bubble. And so like your goal here is like, okay, and also they're not going to be playing 2-2 split where they're going to be like looking to take too many fights. Like their goal is generally like to win that race, and like the race typically just favors. Is every map going to be team map choice? Like, it's not set maps, right? Every single map a team chooses. I'm assuming it's the same. Yeah, it's a loser and higher seed chooses. That's good because that's good for a team like Hangzhou, because they can, if you know they lose the map call, they can aim towards the more dive favored map, take us away from the brawl favored maps. They can maybe look towards map pool advantages that way. Obviously, it works in the opposite way when the other team gets to choose. But yeah, map choice will be really important in the Spark matchup as well. It will be important for London as well, because they want to play the brawl matchup. So two completely separate teams in terms of their styles, and then the Zarya teams in the middle with where they want to go.
Scott, I feel like historically you can kind of get away playing Winston against Zarya compositions. Is it different this time? Do you think like it's going to be way harder to make this work for Hangzhou Spark than in the past, where it honestly feels just like me reflecting a little bit that sometimes you have these amazing teams that are really good at dive comps or really good mechanics, so whether it's like, you know, Boston Uprising with Smurf, it's Houston Outlaws with Fearless, Atlanta Rain with Donghack. Obviously, we're just in like a Winston Sombra meta. But it feels like some of these teams, they almost like trend to just wanting to play the dive mirror if they can, because both teams are really comfortable on it and they like playing Winston comps. Do you think that's one of those cases for Hangzhou Spark where they can actually kind of encourage other teams to play Winston? Or do you think that like Zarya is just so hard meta that Hangzhou Spark are at a disadvantage going into the playoffs?
For me, like, I agree with you. Like, historically, Winston has worked in these scenarios, and we've seen like cases of it working and cases of it not, where like all of a sudden it becomes an issue. This meta in general is just such a huge blind spot for me, because like I have no idea how impactful this Zarya is going to be, because first of all, it's changed in a way that we've never seen it change before. Like, as Avast said, if the Genji can just get a bubble and then just fucking destroy the backline, it becomes a base race, like at this point, right? Of like, it's just, can you get your Genji in there and enable him? And then it's going to come down to, regardless of the Winston Zarya matchup, how fucking good is your Genji? Like, can your Genji actually take the 1v1 duel with a Baptiste, force lamp almost instantly most of the time, and then not have to use the deflect to do it, so then he can live, so then he can go back in again, and the cycling of that. I don't know the answer to that question because like it's going to come down to a level of coordination that we haven't seen from the Overwatch League teams in a while. And in the past, every time we've done this, it's been with a Reaper, right? I remember, do you guys, was it season 1, season 2? We played Genji Zarya of Overwatch 2, something like that. And Genji was a fucking problem. And I can't remember
when it first came out. Genji was like OP
when it first came out.
I mean,
when Overwatch first came out.
It was because his shurikens got buffed and everyone was playing Zarya to enable, and it was, as a support player, insane. It was impossible to deal with because when they have the bubble, you can't even play Brig that effectively into it because you don't do enough damage and it just sort of negates it. The bubble has 25 more health, it gives the Zarya more energy, and it's bigger than it's ever been before. Like, Genjis are really, in my opinion, going to be the crux of whether or not the Zarya works, regardless of how the Winston versus Zarya matchup works. Because Zarya just needs to live and get bubbles out, right?
Now we know why Florida did their pickup. There you go.
Literally, there is a world in which, WhoRU, Florida, with someone who's a very smart, very adaptive player, on the Zarya, plays with a world-class Genji, and he just fucking tears through the league. There is a world in which I can see that happening. I just don't know how viable it is right now. And that's where these countercomps come from. Like, your Hangzhou Spark, if they aren't going to play Zarya, your London Spitfire, if they're just going to play Reinhardt, you're gambling, essentially, that, hey, it's not as strong as everyone else thinks. And that's going to be the balance of this playoffs. And that's where I think it's going to hinge. Are these cheese comps with the Reinhardt and the Winston of comfort going to overperform to something that, in theory, is busted like the Zarya Genji?
BAP got nerfed too.
Yes.
His healing got nerfed on his regenerative burst.
And that hurts.
Yes. And that's crazy that they got nerfed. Like, it went from 50 over 5 seconds to 40 over 4. And then just, like, the flat healing got nerfed as well. So, like in general,
20, I think?
You are something like that. I'd have to get the patch.
If you're below half, it's now 80 instead of 100, I believe, or 90 instead of 100. One of the two.
Yeah, I've got the patch notes right here. Give me a sec. Instant healing reduced from 50 to 40. So you used to get 100 because it was doubled when you're under a certain threshold. So now it's, instead of 100, it's 80.
Yeah.
So you don't, like, obviously instantly go back to full HP, and obviously healing over time as well got decreased from 50 over 5 to 40 over 4. So you are a lot more squishy as BAP now.
That's true. You know what? I forgot about that BAP nerf, which also technically gives some value to Spark, potentially isolating BAPs more if they played a Winston comp. So
make the dives better.
Lucio doesn't deal well with bubbles either, because he has the same issue as Brig where you can't push them around while they have a bubble.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this too. I'm not sure how much of this will actually impact play, but like the size of the bubble as well could be a small factor, like, because you can just break LOS if you. I'm not sure everybody is trying to play like that, but I mean, you could at this level, you probably are. But like breaking LOS with a bigger bubble now, like away from your other support, because that's the most frustrating thing as another support. You're trying to shoot your other like fucking healer, just like fucking get healed, but like Genji's like there with a giant orb, like the sun around him. So not sure if that'll actually impact anything, but I think
it's a really big deal. Like when it was Ana Brig, what the Genji would do is you would target the Brig and you would just stand between the Ana and the Brig, and the Ana literally can't heal the Brig because you can't shoot through the bubble and you can't nade through the bubble and you can't sleep the Genji. And that's why I think Ana's just probably not going to be played for everything that Avast said. Like, it just doesn't match up in Zarya well at all.
Okay. I want to move on here, talk about the Atlanta Reign before to close this group out. Avast, got a question for you. Theoretically, if Atlanta Reign sign a new tank Zarya player 1 week, or I mean, at this point, it's less than a week before playoffs. I don't even know how this would work. Would that make you either A, feel worse about the Atlanta Reign because they're probably underperforming in scrims and have to sign someone to improve their chances, or B, do you feel better about the Atlanta Reign because it means that the rest of the team is super stacked and now they got a dedicated Zarya player joining this team? Do you feel better or worse about the Atlanta Reign going into the playoffs at the prospect of them getting a new off-tank player?
It literally just depends who the player is. That's like, to me, like, I would say,
I mean,
like,
they're not going to be dog shit. They're going to be a good player.
It's a steep. Well, that depends. Like, which is the player, right? Like, if you were to,
who good is even left?
Like, because like what players are left to sign? Like that are like really good, unless it's someone that's like kind of like semi unproven, but like has been playing contenders, like a 2U or something. Like, you know, like the thing is, because like on paper, Hawk should be a perfectly good. There should be a great Zarya player. So like, what is going wrong? Is the issue with communications one? Like, is it just because like they want another Korean player in for an all Korean roster? Like, you know, there's all, because this could be a very like calm heavy meta in a way, because it's like we're calling for bubbles, we're calling for, you know, like it's gonna be really important to hit those like really like tight calls if you're playing a lot of Zarya. So like, I don't know, like it literally just depends. If that were to occur, it depends on the player. Because to be fair, I don't think it's the end of the world if like Hawk were to not play, because Hawk hasn't really been being played at all. Like that wouldn't really affect their overall team synergy, because it's been dong hacked the whole time for the most part. So like, you know, like what would it, for the most part, obviously we've seen Hawk get playtime, but like, I don't know. I just think that like, I think they could be survive if they got a new tank player. It just depends on like who's the player.
Well, they're not going to play Donghack either, because I don't think Atlanta's going to play dive. So
no, I agree. They want to play dive. So it's going to be one. It's going to be
out.
either this supposed new tank player or Hawk. It's one of the two, right? So like, I think that like if the player is good enough, is my point is like if the player is good enough, I think
what's the rule?
Fine replacement.
Who can you get? Because it can't be a league player. It's got to be.
I don't know. That's the thing. It has to be like a contenders player.
No,
that's what I'm saying. It has to be like a
middle of July, middle of August. If I remember that ruling.
Oh, it can't even be 2U because he was playing for Eternal.
No,
that's right.
Exactly.
He can't 2U. So like,
yeah.
So
I don't even know.
I don't even know if there's any good players. There's no good players left, in my opinion. It's like,
so yeah, I just don't know like who. I literally don't know like what and it would be a Korean player more than likely. It would have to be, because you'd want a Korean player for.
There's no way they would replace Hawk with a different Western player.
Exactly.
Anything,
so I just don't think it. Yeah, exactly. Hawk would not get replaced by a Western player for sure.
I think if Hawk is getting replaced, I doubt it has anything to do with mechanics, and probably more just communication of like just having someone who allows them to fully communicate in Korean. Maybe it was difficult for Stalker to work with Hawk. Like that's absolutely something that could make sense. Obviously, I'm just like spitballing and speculating here, but like we know how great of a player Hawk is. It's probably something that doesn't have to do with his mechanics, if that is a reason they're looking in a different direction.
Exactly. So like, I just don't know. Like that to me is like, I would only feel if the player made sense. I feel like because like Hawk only played for them for like this last bit of the season. It's not like he's been like the integral portion of the team the whole season. I think it would make, and if they get like a Korean player where they can call him an all Korean, it's like, okay, that can make sense. But the player has to make sense. Otherwise, like, why would you get rid of Hawk? Like, it just wouldn't make sense.
I can tell you who the options are. And I don't think any of them are particularly exciting. You basically have Pepe, Protect, and Jasmine, right? Maybe Protect is the best option.
That gets me going.
I'm pretty sure Protect got trialed by Houston. They passed him up for Bernar. Right? So that tells you a lot straight away. I mean, that tells you a fuck ton of information. You'd rather get Bernar, who's been missing from the game for a year.
Okay.
Yeah. The funny part is, I saw after he got announced, you know, his Twitter bio still says retired professional Overwatch player after they announced him. It still says that.
He's back.
It still says that.
I think if
did they sign him for a 14-day contract? A 14-day contract?
No, we don't have those in Overwatch League. They only exist in CDL. So in Overwatch League, we have 30 days.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Oh, right. CDL they had 14 days. Like for champs last champs, they had a 14-day contract. But yeah,
it's crazy.
It says a lot when Houston would rather take Bernar over any contender Zarya player, right? I think
exactly. Yeah, I agree, because I trust Houston's scouting relatively, like, and their ability to scout talent. So like, if they are taking Bernar over Protect, like if Rain were to get like Protect, then like I don't know.
I think Hawk's playing, guys. I'm pretty sure Hawk's gonna play.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know who else is around. Like who else could it be?
Look, we have to entertain the rumor for a little bit here, but yes, agreed. It would be disrespectful to the Atlanta Reign, of course, because they were the quote-unquote reigning regular season champions with the record, beating the map differential. They won mid-season Madness too. I mean, this has been the best team in the Overwatch League 2023, right? So they deserve to be spoken about as a team that goes into the playoffs as, you know, a big favorite. So, AVRL, I wanted to ask you, Stalker played a lot of Genji for Seoul Dynasty last year, when he did get playing time on Seoul Dynasty. If you had to rank, and we expect to see maybe some Genji Sojourn, if you had to rank the damage duo of Stalker Genji and Lip Sojourn, is it the best damage duo going into the playoffs?
Oh, that's tasty, man. That is a really tasty Genji Sojourn combination. I'm looking at all the different DPS lines right now.
Because we don't have to talk about the supports. Like we know the supports are goated. Sure. But the damage duo,
regardless of what's played,
part of me wants to believe that Spark could challenge it, because Shy Sojourn, when Sojourn was meta, look, there's a very heated debate about who was the best Sojourn at the time. You could argue it was Shy. Some people want to argue it was Lip. My argument, my sort of take on that is Lip Sojin didn't get good until the end, and he had one insane performance versus Shock on Iconvolt, which I casted, by the way, so I remember very clearly, where he played out of his mind. I think people really, not that they overrate that performance, but they like to go back to that as if he did that the whole year, which is just not true. I think overall Shy was the way more consistent, better Sojin player in terms of when you look at the whole season and not just like one part of the season. So based on that alone, and I'm not making a judgment as to who I think currently is better because it's been another year since then, and Sojin hasn't been as meta. But I think Shy historically is the player that can challenge Lip. Now, when you talk about Lee versus Stalker, it's right now I think Stalker's he's got the better team around him. He's got Field of Vigilante. I know we're like trying to zoom in on the DPS here, but when you're being healed by that backline, I think that does make a difference as well. And Stalker's an extremely talented player. So, yeah, if anything, even if I think possibly Shine Leave could match it, the rest of the team, especially when you look at the supports backing that up, it goes way more Atlanta Reign favored. Beyond that, I don't know if any other team could Happy and Pelican maybe, possibly. But
I mean, Dallas Fuel hardcore fans are gonna be clamoring like, "Oh, we won the playoffs last year with Sparkle and Edison."
Yeah, okay, they had Edison. Yeah, they had the John Sojin. I personally, though, to be real, I think even Dallas fans need to even realize this and accept the truth. Sparkle's underperformed on Genji so far this year. Every single time we've seen Sparkle on Genji, it's not been that exciting. It's not delivered the same results. People are still like 2020 pilled, like, oh yeah, Sparkle, Paris Eternal. Oh, how good was the Sparkle Genji? It's like, bro, it's been 3 years, guys. Come on.
He wasn't even last year. He wasn't very good. If you remember the beginning of last year, Dallas Fuel in the kickoff clash, we were like, Genji meta, Dallas Fuel are the best, and then like they were just like really mid, and Sparkle Genji just didn't perform, as you said.
We expect way more out of Sparkle Genji, and it has not been at the level that he has shown in the past.
Yeah.
And right now, he's been overtaken by a bunch of different Genjis, including Leave, who fucking bopped him when Dallas last played Hangzhou Spark. So look. Maybe Edison could still do it if he really is the John Sojin, but he is. You got Shy and Lipper in the fucking playoffs, so it's like, you know, you got some other legendary Sojin players in this playoffs. Is all I'm saying.
I think Dallas need the. Well, I guess we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but Dallas need that. Whatever the fuck they were putting in that secret sauce last year for the playoffs, they need to start cooking again.
So well, their secret sauce there, two big ingredients. Geo Fielder, unfortunately, are gone.
Fearless and Fearless.
Unfortunately, and Fearless. Yeah. I mean, Edison did have like an incredibly good performance.
Edison and Sparkle were great in the playoffs. Like,
but it's just obviously that's helped when you have other. They still have Hanbin, yeah, they still have Hanbin. That's true. Hanbin's great.
Have we moved on to Dallas? Have we moved on already?
No, I wanted to ask Custa as well here, just wrapping up the Atlanta Reign. Does Atlanta Reign deserve to be the clear-cut favorite going into the playoffs? Or prior victories, you know, winning the mid-season madness, the regular season, are we fine kind of just like, that was a different meta, that was different times, it's a new meta for the playoffs, break even with Houston Outlaws for the Mayhem, etc.? Or Atlanta Reign like the clear-cut favorite going into the playoffs?
I don't think clear-cut favorites. They were clear-cut favorites when we were playing a Sombra meta, and they had proven time and time again that they were just the best team, right? But we are going into a new meta. There are rumored that they're having roster issues if they're looking to sign a tank so late in the game. I think the meta isn't like terrible for them, but it's also not perfect. I think they're definitely favorites to make it to top 4, right? Semifinals. I think I would be shocked if Atlanta Reign fell shorter than that. But outside of that, that's where it starts to get a little dicey, because there are some great teams and there's a lot of questions around the strength of them, right? Like, if we really do go to a Xayah Genji meta, like, all of a sudden are you like, well, fuck, are Florida just like gonna just crush it? Because if we're Genji, let's not forget, oh god, I'm getting ahead of myself again, but it's like, they also have fucking merit on Sojin. Like, there's so many threats on so many different teams at the end. I don't think Atlanta's roster just pulls them across the line.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Florida Mayhem. Let's jump over to the other group. Florida Mayhem. They're runner-up for regular season champ. Yeah, just make the case. Make the case, Avast, for Florida Mayhem winning the entire thing.
Why am I making the case? It's just
I don't know, because you're biased. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny.
What do you mean?
Funny moment.
Florida Man makes the case.
I think the case is they have signed historically what has been the best Genji player in the world, typically. They have one of the best Sojourns, if not, I think statistically the best Sojourn. I can't remember exactly throughout this year. I can't remember exactly like what the stats were for that, but definitely like.
Oh, let me go check the stats lab. Oh wait, no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Obviously a very talented backline, and they've had some ability to play double flex if they need to with Maka, and what is an MVP candidate with probably the current most flexible tank player in the league. You know, I think that like they have all the tools for success, and also a coach of the year candidate with Gumbo, with someone that's like they've cooked and they've done a lot of different they've really thought about a lot of different options and like tried things a lot of teams haven't in North America, I think. So like heading to a new meta, getting a player that's really defining on the role, like especially if it seems really important, and having like the flexibility to play everything is obviously a threat. And they finished second regular season, so like they had an extremely good run. I don't think, and one pro-am though, obviously Mickey Mouse, who really cares. So, like, I think that, like, overall, if you are a Mayhem fan, this should be another team that's, like, if you don't make top 4, that's a pretty big disappointment.
I think if you don't make finals, it's a big disappointment.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, but I would say, like, I'm being conservative, right? I'm being conservative here with this. It's, like, a top 4 finish would be, like, a pretty big disappointment.
If they make it into the third place match.
Yeah.
If they get third place match, I will be throwing myself off a bridge in Fortnite. So, like, that would be, so we'll see. But, like, I think they have just as good of a chance as the Reign, specifically because while this is going on, the rumors have heated up about the Reign tank players. They have heated up. And additionally, while this is happening, we have to discuss something. The league has made yet another, granted, I think it's kind of minor, but there's been yet another fucky-wucky in the playoff format. Yet another fucky-wucky in the playoff format has occurred. Did you guys know that the seeding... And the seeding for picking the first map of the series is, so that's who gets to pick the first map, who has the higher seed. Do you know the seeding for playoffs wasn't determined by your regular season finish?
What was it determined by?
It was determined by the order that you were picked. So essentially, London has had 4th seed.
Oh my god. What? That is so big for London.
So
and Infernal has 2nd seed.
Yeah.
Wait, who has 2nd seed?
Infernal,
because they got the first seed from APAC. Yeah. They're 2nd seed overall.
What? So Infernal is 2nd seed. London has 4th, and Florida has 3rd. So London,
massive.
So this means London now gets to they essentially since there's only one control right in the whole series, they get a map pick. They get to just like pick a map and eliminate like practice maps. Like they've literally once again based off this weird ass seeding format. They have now given an advantage to even a further advantage.
London went from the last team who qualified to number 4 seed.
And Seoul Infernal made it qualified without even winning a bracket
winning a match and have tournament. 2nd seed. Yeah. And they have 2nd seed. Now, granted, they at least got 1st seed in APAC, but that's semi less fraudulent than the London getting 4th seed in the overall.
I still don't know how Infernal got 1st seed, by the way, but. You know,
because they had the best regular season placement, include up to like essentially like their regular they had the best record in all of APAC for the majority of the season, pretty much. So
from regular season, like this is the problem is they did not have the best record if we're basing it on knockouts.
If we're including knockouts, yes,
and that's the issue because Hangzhou had the better record in knockouts and they're being punished when you should consider that knockouts should be the more important part of the tournament, so the season rather compared to regular season. Now suddenly, for some reason, the regular season is more important. It's just that part.
Well, now the regular season is not more important because London has 4th seed. Regular season is not more important.
They just scraped by.
Let me really for the viewers that don't understand how huge this is for London. It's not just like 4 better number than the other numbers after 4. It's the fact that this is one of the few teams that because they're playing off meta, they really need and really benefit from having pick options, especially first map choice, which is guaranteed to be control. And on control, there are maps that are going to be bad for Ryan, and the maps are going to be really good for Ryan. If you have a high seed, you're going to pick the maps that are really good for Ryan. You're going to dodge the maps that are bad for Ryan. That is gigantic for London.
As it directly impacts London Spitfire, that means they get to pick control map over both Boston Uprising and Hangzhou Spark, correct?
Yes.
And especially for that Hangzhou Spark matchup, that is insane because that means you can force a map like Lijiang over Hangzhou picking like Ilios instead.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a fine shit playoff format cherry on top of the shit playoff cake. A fine little addition there at the end, just coming in for one last final atomic elbow shit bomb right there at the end. Let's fucking go. Love it. I love it.
Also, based Florida 3rd seed for their final position in the tournament.
I mean, like, Florida is semi-understandable. Right? But, like, also considering that, like, if we were basing this on regular season from Infernal, Florida should have the 2nd seed, I think. Yeah. But, you know, they did get 1st seed in APAC. So, like, fair enough. I mean,
it would be funny if Florida beats Houston and Infernal beats Dallas, then Seoul Infernal has...
But, like, I mean, come on, man.
That
like, come on.
Okay.
Wait, before everyone just starts fucking typing up their angry Reddit article, just so that there is context of why this decision, I'm not defending it in a way of, like, I also think it's Mickey Mouse and it's stupid as fuck and there's way better solutions to this problem. But the reason this exists is because the format in the West and the East were so drastically different that you can't just be like, this record and this record... 1-to-1, okay, this is how the seeding matches out, right? So obviously there's going to be issues because of the way they did the knockouts and that they integrated contenders teams. That's why it is like this and why a Mickey Mouse decision has been made. But as Avast said, there are better solutions to this problem rather than just like the opposite team being picked on the other side. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, it just doesn't take any context
if Infernal hadn't picked London. You know, if it had gone according to what we thought, Atlanta won... Seoul Infernal 2, sure, but they were right back, different regions. Florida 3, number 4, we probably would have had Houston Outlaws then. And so, like, it would have gone based on the strength that we perceived, and it would have kind of made sense. So, because London Spitfire were picked by Infernal, that's where, like, it's a bit scuffed. But, you know, they respected London Spitfire, and so London Spitfire were granted higher seed.
If London Spitfire end up winning the Overwatch League this season, they need to be giving part of that prize pool to Infernal for sure.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That goes straight into roster's PayPal. 100%.
It's true. It's 100% true. So overall, I mean, like, what was the point? Yeah, Mayhem, we're gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. This is why I love Custa, by the way, because he's rational. He's the voice of rationality on the podcast, and he is.
Really?
Yeah. What? Dude, okay, Custa
is a rational person. I don't want to hear from your irrational ass over here. Okay?
No, bro. You literally said earlier in the episode, "I will not be convinced with facts."
All right. This was only a setup because I wanted to ask Custa a follow-up question about the Florida Mayhem, getting back to them. Okay, and I'm not stating this, but I'm humbly asking. I crave your analysis, Custa. I ask for your opinion here. Are we potentially overrating the Florida Mayhem going into the playoffs? They have someone who, yes, he can flex over. He can play off-tank heroes, but he's traditionally like a Winston kind of main tank player. Yes, he can flex over to the Zarya. They just picked up a new Genji player who, it's WhoRU. You know, fantastic Genji. And, you know, the backline is really good, but, you know, there are a couple arguably better backlines in the playoffs. Is Florida Mayhem really, like, guaranteed to make the grand finals? Like, are we sure that they're probably favored out of groups, but, like, are we overrating the Florida Mayhem a little bit, maybe?
I think the one factor that you haven't brought up that I think is super important to this playoffs is the Goomba effect, because Goomba, like, obviously people love to praise Goomba and, you know, they love to give him his props, especially online, but people don't really understand Goomba, and he's just a fucking weirdo in the sense, because, like, he messages me after every Plat Chat as well, because he used to be my coach of, like, and he just goes on a rant about, like, know about this, something, about all these kinds of things, but he's like a mad scientist, and I actually think when you go into a playoff patch, that's when he's at his strongest, because I think he has a great head for the game. He's willing to just, like, do what needs to be done. Why do you think WhoRU was signed? And he knows how to make gambles. And I just believe when he has a tank of the caliber of someone who can sort of go and follow his line of his mad scientist shit, I think they're going to cook, and I think they're going to come to an idea of what the best meta is the quickest out of a lot of these other teams, and they're just going to full send. And you pair that with the roster. You said, yes, maybe the backline isn't the best. Bro, Churong RuPaul, fucking sick. Someone, MVP, a potential like candidate, right? He's in the top 2. Then you have the DPS, fucking Merit and WhoRU. Like, and then they have Checkmate in case they don't want to play the Zarya shit, right? Like Zarya Genji shit.
Play some Ryan?
They can play some Ryan. They can literally do everything. I think they are literally the most meta-proof out of all of them. You know, if they want 14 deaths per 10, Chadmate can come in, okay?
14 deaths per 10.
I just think that they're a well-rounded team. And I think Goomba has, led this team to a lot of success, and I think going into a player patch, that becomes even more of an asset. That's when coaching is more important, when there's a lot of volatility in the meta, there's a lot of volatility in the strength of teams, and you just got to keep people grounded and find your strengths.
Okay. Yeah, I just know that the Florida Mayhem community vibes are like out of control. Like they got all the Florida Mayhem fans on Twitter and Reddit, and they're just like, you know, supporting the brand, MVP voting, all that shit. So you just gotta check yourself. Sometimes, once in a while, you just gotta check yourself. And so I just wanted to pose the question.
You don't have to check yourself. You just gotta run with it, okay? The vibes are immaculate. The vibes are immaculate, and there's a reason they're immaculate. They've been carefully cultivated. They've been bioengineered. And it's all working together. It's all coming together for a glorious grand final win. 4 more years of esports, 40 more years of esports, everybody. Okay, we need this. We need this, so I can keep having a job. Okay, we need this.
Good.
He just look at his new apartment. He needs to afford it. Guys.
We need this. We need this. We need this.
Dude, guys, I think Misfits definitely have money. They can just sign in WhoRU out of the blue into the season.
How about they sign all of us to a long-term podcasting deal where we can just talk about Overwatch and esports for the next 40 years? Yeah,
I will. You know what? Let's pitch that to the board. Let's pitch that to the board. We'll see what they say.
You know, Manscaped, that could be you. Man. Well, think about the amount of passion we bring to Manscaped. We could bring that to the Florida
ad read at the
brand.
beginning always, well, I think the ad read should actually be for me at the beginning. It's like, thank you, Avast, for supporting this podcast.
You can write your own little script at the beginning of every episode. Johnny will read it. I was going to say we, but no, not me. No, Johnny will read it.
No, part of the stipulation
I will read a lot of things for money. So
the contract would be written where everyone would have to do a revolving script read.
Hard bargain, but we signed.
Moving on from the Florida Mayhem to their opponents, the Houston Outlaws. We're in for a giga banger here in Group B to kick off the playoffs. Jaws, they signed Bernar. It was announced today that they picked up an off-tank. And I think, you know, given that it's a Zarya meta, probably don't want Fearless commanding the Zarya. So makes sense. You pick up Bernar to be your dedicated Zarya player here for the playoffs. They got second in the mid-season madness. They have Shu and Violet for the backline, who, I mean, we'll see about the Lucio Bap stuff. You know, Shu playing the Bap, really, really good. Happy Pelican. Surely Houston Outlaws should be like a grand final potential candidate here, even though they're playing Florida Mayhem in the first matchup. Can Houston Outlaws win it all, Jaws?
Bro, how long has Bernar not played for? And the last time he played, he was on the Spark.
Year.
Like,
are you doubting? Are you doubting Bernar? Do you not like this?
I like Bernar as a player. I used to cast him when he was in Contenders, and that's where he fucking raked it in, baby. Made all that fucking money on Fusion University. But like, dude, he has not been playing in like tier 1 Overwatch League for a long while, and the last time he was on fucking he was on fucking Spitfire in 2020. That amalgamation of a fucking team.
It was in Spark, but in 2022, to be fair.
But in 2020
he was present.
That
reported.
Spitfire roster was crazy, man. I don't know. Like, I just don't think. This late in the game, again, getting pickups this late in the fucking game, and especially someone who's been sat out for this long, I just don't see it going well, especially since how many good tanks we currently have in the league and how like the tank dynamic has changed and how good every tank player has gotten over the last couple of years. I don't know if anybody else is feeling the same vibe. I think everything else about their team is just fantastic, but the issue they did run into, especially in even just during the year when they have Fearless on other things that aren't like Winston, it was a little bit of a struggle, you know. I just don't see it working out as well as I think people are expecting it to. Their front line is sick, and their back line they have Violet, for God's sake. It's super good, but the tank role, to me, an enigma for sure, using Scott's word from earlier. Like, I just don't see how they can stand up to other teams in this bracket, especially Mayhem. There's just no way.
All right. Sorry, you go.
I'm not even convinced that like the strong points for Outlaws are necessarily better than Florida Mayhem. I'll give I'll say this much: support line, okay, Shu Violet, I'll give that to Houston, 100%. But Pelican Happy, I don't know that's
against
really,
WhoRU and shit. Yeah,
is that better than Merit WhoRU? I think WhoRU is definitely the better Genji. That's my opinion. Happy Merit, you can make an argument there, but Merit's also super damn solid on the Sojourn.
I mean, they've had a pretty, I would say both of them have had a pretty comparable year, though. I think Happy's year is technically, when we put out stats-wise, has been like better, theoretically, but I think they've had a pretty comparable year, so.
I I think Houston is a team that could go 8th and it could go 1st, and I don't know where they're going to end. And I don't think they could finish 2 to 7th.
I think they could go 0-2 in their group.
I think they can. Houston are like a kind of team. When you're doing a late signing of like an off-tank player, like late in the game, that's always like worrying for me. I also think Fearless is like, you know, being an anchor of this team, of like just sort of like bringing him back down to earth. But I don't know. Like they're so explosive. They're either going to finish 1st or last. That's my opinion on the Houston Outlaws. They're either going to
can they finish 1st with Bernar? Like really?
Fuck it, bro. When you have the players like if Pelican has his eye in on Genji and he just like he gets that protagonist look in his eye, you know, where he looks like tired, but then he just absolutely fucking crushes everyone all the time. Like that could happen. And if Happy goes to like top tier hit scan form, like I can see this team being really good. But as I said, the team with the most variance in my eyes.
Yeah. I don't see Pelican as the best flex DPS in this playoffs, or Happy as the best hit scan in this playoffs. I don't see Bernar as being the best tank for this playoffs. I think Shu and Violet, that's the real argument. But are you gonna win the entire Overwatch League on 2 supports? Like, I just don't see it.
I think you're underrating Happy and Pelican a bit. Too.
I agree. I think they're in the ballpark. Like they're
Happy
not...
and Pelican have been really, really good this year. Yeah. They've been fantastic.
Yeah, they've been good. I'm just saying, like, are they? When you look at all the DPS lines, are they the best DPS line? Probably not.
But let's remember, we've also been in a meta which is Tracer Sombra, which goes very heavily against what Happy and Pelican are good at in the league. Like,
and they've been still really good at it.
And they've still been really good. Like you get them on more comfort picks of like Happy's able to play hit scan, Pelican's able to play Genji. I think this is a lot more scary of a team if they can get it right. You know,
like this team was not that far off of getting like 2nd seed in North America, you know? Like it's like if they had like a couple different match results, like realistically, like this team is really, really good still. Like the real question mark is just Bernar. Like, but the thing is, if they picked up Bernar, according to everyone, it's like they picked up Bernar as the best out of their trials, then something had to have gone right, because like they were trialing against, you know, there was rumors they were trying against like players like Protect or whatever, like players that were like actively competing in APAC, you know, that were competing in like the contenders, and like Bernar apparently beat them in their trials. So I'm like,
yeah, but that you could argue the opposite and say, well, everyone was just bad, like no one was good in the trials.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, but I mean, like that still gives them the best option, as opposed to like, I mean, I guess theoretically they could try to force a spark and put Fearless Winston the whole time, like Fearless Winston and Doom. They could theoretically do that, but like realistically, I mean, they probably feel like
that'd be crazy if you're picking up someone that late in the game and you're not going to play, and that is just absurd.
It's not that expensive to sign a player for.
It's a 30-day contract.
Yeah. It's a 30-day contract. Get him a flight, get him a hotel.
If you get him a minimum, if you get him a 30-day minimum contract, you'll spend essentially for all the playoffs, like. If you round it off, you'll pretty much spend like between flights, hotels, and the 30-day contract itself will probably be like, if they're on minimum, right, for the 30-day, you'd spend like $6,000 to $7,000.
Okay. And they're not offering Bernar like fucking $100,000 contract for like the year, right? Which is going to
it's all going to be every player.
Everything's minimum.
Is going to be on a minimum, so it's all going to be like between the hotels, travel costs, everything. It's probably somewhere between like $6,000 to $8,000 for the whole.
They'll find out really quick right now in the scrim meta whether Bernar's able to keep up or not. My concern is that he's just been out of the game for too long. Like he's been out of the game for way too long.
How do you feel about the idea that because we're playing a Xayah meta, this is something that like Overwatch League hasn't played and scrimmed a lot lately. So I think if you're ever going to have someone who has been out of the game come in to play a hero, like a hero like Xayah, which is mechanically intensive, but also hasn't really been solved in Overwatch 2 for the most part. Like, I think that gives you a much better opportunity than, like, you know, let's say, like, signing someone who has to play Winston against fucking, like, Fearless and all these guys who have been scrimming Winston since the beginning of time. Like, and it's been buffed, and it's been changed, so it feels like it's less so about bubbling yourself and bubbling others.
AVRL, I mean, if you get, like, the best version of Bernar, do you not think that, like, it could kind of be an addition to this team?
Yeah, if you get the best version of Bernar, I just...
You just feel like it's been too long, like a year out. At that point,
it's like, I don't think you can expect... I don't know, that sounds like wishful thinking. Like, I'll probably end up eating my words if he comes out really good, but it seems like wishful thinking. It seems like someone that's been out of the game for that, because he's not even been playing contenders. He hasn't been scrimming. He hasn't been doing... The best he could have been doing this entire time is just playing ranked. That's the most he could have been doing. Right. Not playing for any team. That's a huge issue. Right? That's just a major red flag.
Taking that long, well, it only being a year, it's like, yeah, it's only a year, but like, especially with like how much, years worth of scrims, and like, he was retired. So how much has he really been playing, even like solo queue and stuff? That is a bit of a question mark to me.
Yeah, I mean, if he did go through trials, he probably
he's still probably
well,
super good. You know. And yeah, like maybe he did play super well. I actually put a little bit of credence to what Avril was saying. Actually, was hey, maybe just everybody was kind of bad, but he was the best of the bad bunch, kind of deal. Like that does make a lot of sense too. I just don't see it assigning this late into the season. Plus, Bernar just not playing for that long again. Like I just don't see that working out too well for them at all.
Yeah.
Which is scary because their first fucking match is against Florida Mayhem, which is the match they need to show up for. Like, if there's any match in that group you need to win, it's gonna be that one.
Well, I mean, yeah, they can probably get by, you know, coming second in their group too if they happen to lose the first one.
But also, I mean, if they lose the first match, like they have more opportunities. Unlike if you make it to the semis, so
right, yeah,
it's actually better for them to potentially lose there and get better from there.
Sure. But I understand the case for Houston Outlaws being a bit scary to predict right now because they got Bernar coming into this team, and you know we don't know exactly what they're going to do. I just feel good about the Houston Outlaws organization and what they've done this year. Like they've competed with Atlanta Reign at the highest level for midseason and all this stuff. And I know it's a different meta. I know it doesn't account for everything, but like they have so many fantastic players on their team. They have Junkbuck as their GM, I suppose, / coach, whatever it is.
Coach.
Yeah. So like I just feel like I still have faith in Houston Outlaws. Like I still respect this team so much that I can't let these emotions of doubt and stuff like enter my mind, and like I can't doubt them now.
A lot of time with Jake this season.
Also, what's the best version of Bernar? By the way, I heard Avril say that while I was up. Like the best version, we haven't seen the best version of Bernar since Fusion University.
Yeah, but.
Like
didn't he used to play like
he played primarily
like he played a lot of
he
Zarya,
played
right?
Diva, a lot of Diva. It was a Diva that did most of his work. He was a Diva player and then some Zarya, but it was like Diva was really what he made his bread and butter.
Didn't he play some Zarya for Hangzhou Spark early on when he made
Sure, but the point is I'm saying the best version of Bernar was Fusion University Bernar. Like in Overwatch League, nothing he's really done in Overwatch League has come close to his contenders level performance.
No, yeah, I mean, he's essentially been out for like 2 years. I think the last year he was on the Spark, he did come in and play some because Liga sat out, of course, so Bernar got some playing time. But,
Bernar was actually the starter. He was a starter for most of Spark last year because we did actually have a Zarya meta and he did start.
Yeah, so, Avril says that, he's been sitting out for quite some time here. But I'm just not like, he made the trials. He was probably pretty good at the game. They have fucking all-star roster, so... I can't sleep on the Houston Outlaws. I still think they probably make it out of this groups. We'll do the pick and bracket later. Anyway, moving on. We got a clash of two APAC teams. Let's start off with Seoul Infernal. They don't really have. I guess they have a Zarya player here, Avril, in Poco. But
I don't think it's happening, guys.
Look, I don't even know. What are we supposed to expect from the Seoul Infernal? What are we supposed to expect? Who are they? What do they do?
I'm worried about this team. The fact that they've lost Fixer for the rest of the season due to injury. Hyunjae's new. He's still got to work through with the team. The Seoul Infernal. This team didn't make it through knockouts. They lose. Who do they lose to? They lose. I think they lost to Seoul Dynasty and O2 Blast. Guys, oh man, like this is not the same.
Their team is not. I mean, they have the Aaron Rodgers level playoff performance ahead of them. They're gonna have 75 seconds out there on the field.
The problem is it's not a good meta for Mag, right? What is Seoul Infernal just gonna play Ryan? Are they gonna play Winston? Like, is Mag gonna play Zarya?
I don't think Imin3 and Zest. I think Imin3 and Zest are obviously great players. Like they've been pretty good, but like they've been a lot more inconsistent this year. From what I've seen,
well, the second half of the year, especially, I thought the first half of the year, Imin3 and Zest were still popping off. The issue now is, I think Zest did not finish the season as strong as Leave did. I think Leave is the best flex DPS coming out of the East going into playoffs, and he's far better than Zest coming into the current meta, unless Zest is leveled up again. But he in the knockouts where we saw Seoul Infernal lose twice. Zest is meant to be their best player, and I felt like that wasn't as apparent. Like it just wasn't. It didn't hit. It didn't hit big. Didn't seem like Hyunjae had been. Maybe it was too early, but that was definitely a downgrade from Fixer at the time. Maybe things have improved since then. I
think they're the
M3 on Sojourn could still be good, but it's like
in the playoffs.
I don't think M3 was ever like a super standout Sojourn player even last year. He was trading time with Carpe. Like, if we want to talk about, because we haven't seen that much Sojourn this year, and you have to look at historical performances because that's all we can work with. You know, M3 doesn't pop on your head when you think about really good Sojourn players. It's just not it. Zest Genji can still be really strong, but like Zest Genji and Sparkle Genji have both looked a little bit disappointing in the second half of the year, which is an issue. So Seoul Infernal, I think they're in trouble, man. It's not a good meta for Mag. They had to replace their main support player with a new player who they're still integrating. M3 and Zest in particular seem like maybe, I don't know if they're slumping, maybe it was just a brief slump, maybe they're back, but most recent performances don't invigorate confidence in me. Is the issue.
I think they're definitely the weakest team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're by far, like, if Infernal wins, I think if Infernal wins a game, it would be miraculous, personally.
Miraculous
on their because yeah, I think it'd be kind of miraculous. I don't think they have a hard bracket. They were not looking very good coming into this meta. They were looking poor in the previous meta, and this meta is essentially still a direct derivative of that, just with Zarya. You know,
it's worse for Mag than the last meta, actually.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's even worse. So it's like, yeah, because at least Mag could play Junker Queen. So like this is and like they could sort of force other stuff. So yeah, it's like I think this is a disastrous meta for Infernal, and I don't think the other parts of Infernal that have historically been really good, like AVRL was talking about, with like have been kind of weak, which is specifically their DPS line, you know. And they have a new main support player, which obviously didn't help them because Fixa was a big caller for them. Like it's just everything that could be bad for Infernal if they were having already not that great performance has compounded. So like, if they get out there and don't immediately fucking snap their Achilles tendon, you know, and like if they're like good, like then that would be miraculous. It would just be an insane performance. Like it would be something like, okay, this is a crazy playoff run. And then also it would be insane too, because essentially, now granted they earned it from their regular season, but you know, like if them having the map picks here, the advantage that they did with second seed helps them at all, but I don't think it really does. Like they have much bigger issues to get a hold.
You know, the irony is, even in the regular season, they still didn't win either regular season. They came twice. They came second twice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a full of fusion, Seoul Infernal meme. They always come second, but they didn't actually. It was Charge and then Dallas who won the regular seasons. Who got the skin recolors. So Infernal didn't get any of the skin recolors, sadly. So they had the best record of the regular season, but they didn't win the regular season. They didn't win the knockouts most recently either. So yeah, their journey here has been a weird one.
And they're second seed right now here too. So unlucky.
It's rough,
open question. Because there are a lot of Seoul Infernal fans, obviously, listening to the podcast. We have to leave them some hopium. We have to leave them a little bit of hopium, okay? Best case scenario, how do they make it out of groups? What compositions do they play? If they make it out of this group with Houston Outlaws and Florida Mayhem and the dark horse that us Fuel that we haven't talked about yet, what compositions will Seoul Infernal play if they hypothetically make it out of groups?
They copy London and do their best with Mag Ryan.
You think they have the pieces for that?
What are your thoughts on playing Winston too, like Spark?
I
feel like that's an option.
Yeah, it is an option. It is.
I mean, because Skewed's been good on the Ana, so like it's like I think their DPS players are up to par, or should be. You know, they've been having some mid-lane performances, but like I think they have two potential options. I just think their best option, Junker Queen's pretty much off the table, and Zarya's off the table. So like I think they
have to off meta. They have to off meta then, right?
I think it's going to be one of them. I think it's more likely they play Winston.
Their pathway is the same as London and Spark. They go through some like under the radar, off meta type of deal, and other teams fail to beat it. The only issue for that argument for Seoul Infernal is you can argue that Spark are like they're exceptional at the dive off meta, and London are exceptional at the Ryan off meta. So that's why when you look at their off metas, you're like, oh, I can see that. I can see the possibility there. For Seoul Infernal, it's like, I don't know if they're exceptional at either of those. They're probably fine, but they're gonna have to be exceptional. That's the only option. Yeah, the only way they can do it, really.
Okay. Brings us to our last team we'll talk about, and then we'll do a quick pick and bracket as well. I don't want this episode to drag on for too long, even though there's the big playoff episode. Dallas Fuel, the dark horse of the tournament. The meta is exactly what they needed to be. Hanbin can play the Zarya. We got Sparkle on the Genji again. Edison on the Sojourn. Custa, can they run it back? Back to back Overwatch League champions. Can they make it happen?
Bro, Dallas fans will be insufferable if they win it again. Because like they love to hate on me, and honestly, it's fair. You know, I love to hate on them. It's just kind of funny. But at the end of the day, like I think Dallas Fuel. Let's just call it how it is. They've had a pretty bad season overall. They weren't good in the Sombra meta. They really struggled. But as of late, they've looked like the second best team in the East, right? Obviously, the Hangzhou Spark have the kryptonite. The Gushwei Doomfist is just the kryptonite of the Dallas Fuel. But other than that, I think Dallas have actually been looking like they have the coordination, they have the style they want to play. And I think the Xayah isn't that far away from what they have been playing. Like they can just stop playing Junker Queen, stop playing Orisa and just play Xayah, right? And then you put that with everyone else's on their comfort heroes. Bliss has been very good this season, as AVRL hyped up coming into it. He's actually, considering how poor his team has been, he's actually been quite good. And then we know how good Edison and Sparkle can be. So it's like, there is a world in which Dallas Fuel run this shit
There's
back.
another player you didn't talk about there.
Yeah, and I think that is actually one of the cruxes of this team is like, I think they very heavily live and die by the fact of like MCD, just like kind of like not playing as well as Fielder, right? Like he, every now and then shit just looks a little whack. And I think that like all jokes aside of like the MCD meme and everything that's going on around that, like when push comes to shove, if they do end up being very good in this meta and they make it to top 4, could be an exploitable weakness, especially when all of a sudden it's your flex support's job to live to a Genji, right? Like that's going to be an important 1v1 to take. And if MCD can't hang with the top Genjis, then it'll hurt.
What's funny about that statement is like every flex support in the league outside of Shu is probably not as good as Fielder. So I think it's like,
yeah,
everyone's going to struggle to fill their boots. But if there was a way for Rush to in a dark ritual, just like manifest the perfect playoffs meta for the Dallas Fuel, I don't know what level of sacrifice, I don't know how many goats he sacrificed, and he sat on that summoning circle.
Lots of goats.
And he spoke words into Jared's ear and said, "You're going to give us a playoffs meta that's going to allow us to win again." So I can see.
I mean, maybe it was a two-attack, a front on both sides. You know, they had Rush working to manifest the meta, and MCD making sure Spark got last place in seeding despite having the best.
That's a twofer right there.
Could have been a twofer. Could have been a twofer there.
This is the Dallas fans out there. If another team can eliminate the Spark, I think Dallas has an actual pathway to the finals.
Yeah,
somebody has to beat the Spark for you, because if it's Spark. If at any point Dallas will have to play the Spark, it's over. You're going to get 0-3, 0-4. It's done. You're not going to win a single map versus Spark. So as long as somebody else eliminates the Spark, you're okay.
Jaws, I want to hear from you. Do you believe in the Dallas Fuel this playoffs?
I think they can make it. I mean, we're going to do our Preds in a minute, right? But I think they win fucking against Infernal. I don't think that's too much of an ask. I just really not sure until we've seen it how much this Zarya is going to stand up to Winstons and Doomfist and Rhines. Like, it's always funny looking at these huge buffs on paper or these huge changes to characters and like across the board, DPS support, whatever. But it's hard to tell until we've actually seen like straight up official games that are played on this patch. And I think there is definitely a world where the Dallas Fuel, they just once again unlock Hanbin on the fucking Zarya and they just run it down. Sparkle turns up on the Genji and he's, you know, performing better than he's done all season on that pick. There's a real chance there. But until we see the first game, I just don't know. I think there's a decent chance, but it's so hard to tell with this team, man. And they don't have Fielder and Shio. They just don't have that like backline. That backline is one of the best in the fucking world. Won it last year on the Atlanta Reign this year. It just doesn't stand up to what they have right now. I just don't see them winning the whole thing unless Hanbin and Sparkle just popped a fuck off and their backline dies, but it's okay because they trade like 2 for 3. You know, like. I don't know. It's tough to tell. First game is going to tell a lot, I think.
I think Jack brings up a really interesting point that, like, remember, like, everything that we're talking about is speculation. Like, we have no idea what the meta is going to be. Obviously, the speculation has merit of we've heard rumors of, like, what teams are playing, and then teams are signing off tank players. You know, people have talked about desires changes. So, yes, it is going to be strong, but how strong really is going to be the determining factor for teams like Dallas Fuel? They could absolutely come out here, one-trick the Xayah composition and be like, yes, it's our meta. And then all the other teams are like, actually, Xayah's not that good. And then Dallas are like, fuck! And they just lose the game, right? Like, that could happen.
It's only her, like her bubble buff for cooldown is only for her self bubble as well, right? So like it doesn't hyper.
No, for other bubbles.
Oh, it's not for herself. It's only for
the 8-second cooldown bubble is if you give it to someone else. Same thing with the size. Same thing with the amount of health it have. It doesn't help you personally. Only when you give it away.
It's only flankers. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Then I don't have a point.
So but. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm remembering this. This is what happened to Dallas Fuel in Kickoff Clash last year, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, AVRL, where it's like Dallas played Zarya the whole way through. No one could beat it, and then they went up against Gladiators who played Winston versus them, right?
No, they played Ryan.
They played the Ryan, yeah, sorry. They played the Reinhardt, and the Zarya comp was just like, oh shit, it just fell flat. Like, it wasn't good enough to be able to deal with that. And like, that could happen against some of these teams.
You are against what's probably a Genji as well. You're not playing like the Reaper and all that kind of shit, right? So like the Rhine is probably just gonna run over this comp if you're a good Rhine team.
Yeah.
Like, so London's winning the league then.
Yeah. Okay. Wrap it up. Close it up. Don't even need to do the bracket.
BP put London in the finals against Rain, I think.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's not.
Anything can happen, baby.
It's not unbelievable. There's definitely a world where that happens.
There is a world, which is the scary thing, right? And I really don't know. Every team seems to be, especially with these off-tank signings and like Bernar coming in and like everybody hyping up Dallas because of Hanbin on Zarya. Holy shit, this first game is going to tell a lot. It's actually just going to be straight up like, well, actually, this team's screwed now because the Zarya comp is just not that good.
Let me pose a question to the panel here. Of the 8 teams and all the tanks available in the playoffs, who is the best Zarya player? Is it Hanbin or is there a better Zarya player than Hanbin?
No, it's Hanbin.
Yeah, it's Hanbin.
I mean, you would pick Hanbin more than likely over everyone. Like, there's almost no players that are currently, because also if you think about all the teams that are currently there, almost every team aside from Fuel, right, aren't all of their tank players for the most part. They're almost all, other than Rain, obviously, they're historically just been main tank players that have some hyperflex, like they can play other stuff. But like, they're not really like dedicated Zarya players, really. Like, think about what the current state of tanking is in Overwatch. There isn't really a dedicated need for like Diva Zarya players in particular. Like, all the main tanks have sort of rounded out Winston, Rhine, Junker Queen, Doom. But like, those 2 tanks have been essentially absent from Overwatch too.
Yeah. So then I'll put it like this. Could Edison challenge for best Sojin in the playoffs? Could he at least challenge for it?
He plays like he did last playoffs. Like,
he shows up like that.
Edison kind of came out of nowhere and had like that world-class Sojin performance at the very end, right?
The play style was also so different because a lot of it involved just like jumping in, Winston bubble. You kind of like slide forward to like trade positioning, right? And you got like Kitsune rushing all this. Now, this meta, you would play versus Genjis with Zarya bubbles. You would play against Immortality fields. Like, you're not as aggressive with your slides, I can imagine, in this meta compared to the playoff meta of last year. I just feel like it's a different play style. So I don't feel like it's like a one-to-one comparison.
I just meant on mechanics.
We're also assuming that Soj is going to be played, to be fair.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's clarify the meta kind of like before we get into the pick and bracket. Like, you know, I don't know what you guys heard and what you guys want to go on the record of saying or whatever. But essentially, you know, from me, it's been like, oh, some teams are playing Rhine, some teams are playing Zarya, and then it's been like, oh, Zarya's not meta anymore. So, like, I heard all of it. Like, I have no idea. It could be Zarya meta yesterday, and it could be Orisa meta tomorrow, and it could be Reinhardt on day 4. Like, no freaking idea. It could be all over the list. So we could have made this entire thing with the assumption that Zarya is going to be meta, and that might not be the case. It might not be Zarya. It might be all over the place. So
Scott's prophecy,
it could be Reinhardt is the best meta.
Is coming true right now. Scott's prophecy with Dallas is coming so true at the moment.
Wait, which one was that?
You're like, oh yeah, if it's Zarya meta, then Dallas are happy. Then it's not Zarya meta. Fuck, like.
Literally,
so it's all over the place. Is what I'm.
That would be, dude. That would be so cursed for the Dallas field. Imagine doing all the ritual sacrifice to get the Zarya meta, and then it's not.
That which is crazy because other teams picked up Zarya players too, or like off-tank players as well.
Yeah, I mean it would be fucking crazy. But I mean, essentially at this point, because of the crunch, essentially what the meta is decided on about a week before playoffs is going to be the meta. Even if it's not actually the meta, that's going to be the meta because that's all the teams have time to really learn. You know, and there's not like there's only like. For the timetable that most teams are getting there, they're getting there for the majority of the teams like 2 to 3 days in advance or something. max. So like there's not a lot of time to really make something new with a lot of interval for like big confidence, you know? So pretty much the meta is pretty locked in at this point, unless someone cooks something crazy.
Yeah, because even last year, if I remember correctly, Reaper wasn't even like really meta last year until Dallas Fuel, like a few days before the playoffs, just like started playing Reaper, and it was obviously like the best thing, and that's why Gladiators struggled so much last year, because they didn't have time to prep Kevster playing Reaper or whatever, and like they didn't have a quote unquote Reaper player, where some teams adapted faster, right? So the meta could settle like today, like when we're recording this podcast, and we have no insight. So I guess we're expecting some kind of Zarya meta with teams like London playing Reinhardt, but we honestly don't know, and so we're making assumptions here. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, you guys want to get into the playing bracket?
Yeah.
Or not playing bracket, the pick-em bracket.
Yeah.
The pick-em bracket for playoffs 2023.
Let's do this, and then I can start packing, and then I can leave for my flight.
You haven't packed yet.
To go.
You haven't packed yet, and you're leaving in like 3 hours.
I'm a late packer. All right, I'm a late packer.
I am not a late packer.
Well, I'm packing today, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got to pack today.
Solidarity.
So.
All right.
Late
Well, no, I leave tomorrow though.
As do I. I leave tomorrow morning. But the thing is, I think
assholes.
like we're both leaving tomorrow. Like we're doing this in like 18 hours in advance, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yep.
When I forget my charger, I'll just hit you guys up. Guys, I forgot something.
Yeah. All right. Pick a bracket. We're starting off with Group A. We got the Hangzhou Spark against Atlanta Rain. Avil goes says Spark straight away.
I don't know. This is. I guess you have to go Atlanta, right? As much as I would like to imagine the off meta from Spark is going to be good.
Give him a 3-2 then.
All right, I'll give him a 3-2.
3-2.
No, it's not. It's gonna be like a 3-1.
Okay, I'll give him a 3-1.
It'll be like a 3-0, Vintage, but I'll give it a 3-1 just to respect
bargaining.
Spark
I'm bargaining
playing.
with everyone here.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'll give it a 1.
I'll give 3-1 as well. I mean, Atlanta Rain, we don't know how solid they're going to be, but they should realistically beat them.
They should be really good, despite the rumors are heating up of them getting another off-tank player. But like,
when Atlanta Rain show up with Protect Zarya, I think Spark winning.
Boston Spitfire. Okay, who actually has Spitfire?
I'm taking Boston. I'm taking Boston. Boston already beat them. They've already beat them with this. They've already beat them.
I'll believe London are better when I see it. I'm not just gonna go on this.
I think if London was playing another team, but Boston has already played them. They've already beaten them, playing a meta. Like they already, and the tools they have to beat them haven't changed. They've in fact only added more tools with Zarya. Like it's essentially the same thing.
Spitfire get their map.
Yeah, I could see a 3-1 too. I could see a 3-1 too. Yeah, for sure.
Boston would just play Jungle Queen. Or
London has map pick.
Yeah, that's why they get their 1.
That's why they get their 1.
And they did win the control last time.
I was gonna say 3-2. But okay,
I would go for 3-2 as well. I think
I'll go 3-2. That's fine with me. Because then London lose on Escort. Because I think Escort just sucks for Reinhardt.
Yes.
That's true.
Okay. All right. Let's do the loser one first. Hangzhou Spark then.
Okay,
against the London Spitfire.
I will be taking London.
London has map pick again.
London too.
I'll be
the
taking
problem is, I think Spark's matchup in London is actually really strong.
I agree.
This is the issue for London. This is why, like, if they have to play, Spark is the one team that London probably does not want to play in this bracket. They have a better matchup versus both Atlanta and Boston. So this is a super dangerous match.
I still think it's gonna go to London though. I agree with you, and I think there is a chance, but I think it's gonna be really hard for Hangzhou to know what the fuck's coming for them.
What do you mean? It's going to be Ryan TPs?
No.
What do you mean?
But that's what every team in the West has been saying for the last fucking year. It's just Ryan TPs. It can't be that hard to deal with. And then they get fucking world starred by the Hardy Reinhardt and like the fluidity of their coordination.
I actually agree with Scott here. I think that when you typically think of a Reinhardt composition with like, say, a Cassidy, for example, I think it's easier to approach that with a Winston composition. If you're asking me to Winston dive and set up versus a Reinhardt Bastion sim comp, like holy shit, that adds like a couple dimensions to like how you beat the Rhine Brawl. And I think Hangzhou Spark are just not going to be ready for that.
Also, I think Spark, they need like some good Lucio, something that we've seen really strong versus the sim TPs from someone that's like played, if they played like slightly like with Lucio or something, is that Lucio plays a really big component in like denying value with boops. And I haven't really seen Spark's backline step up in that way this year.
You need to see Spark dismantling Fuel using very similar strats with TPs, TPing their Bastion in, okay, it's not Ryan, but it's Hanbin Jungle Queen in your face instantly, commanding shout, running you down, and Spark just surviving against that and trading effectively.
Well, I know they had that one game where they definitely shut them down when Gushwei played the Doom, right? Gushwei was playing the Doom in that game.
Doom is a really good counter pick into Bastion. A decent,
so there's a chance
I think
the Doom could be
really good matchup into the Rhine as well, actually.
Doom
so
could be the pick, maybe. I mean, I still take London, but I'd give it a map 5 then, just to give Spark some credit.
I go 3-2 Spark. I'll be the only one to do it, but I'll go 3-2 Spark here because if this goes to 5, I think Spark win the escort for sure. So beyond that, I think Spark's matchup into the London stuff is really, really good.
I did 3-2 London.
I'll go 3-1 London. I agree with the AVRL thing, but I think London wins on control, flashpoint, and push.
Mm-hmm.
And they just.
I'm just gonna say it. The most I would find it so entertaining if Hangzhou Spark just popped the fuck off with Leave Shy. Like genuinely, I love that style of Overwatch. Cool. Or just high mechanics, Sojourn.
I think whoever wins this series is going to be a cool storyline, right? Either London shit is actually going to work and it does beat the counter, or Hangzhou Spark are a scarier team than we're giving them credit for.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it would be really sad for London if they exited 0-2 from the tournament, because I think they have the capability to go the distance. If Ryan is actually good, they have a real shot at going all the way.
But if they lose to Boston, I think then I think that theory goes out the window. Like if they can't beat Boston.
That's why I'm not like convinced that Boston will just win, and I'm not convinced they'll do it just because they beat them last time either. Because I think the meta has shifted. I don't know that you can just come up, roll in the jungle.
But I mean, but the meta is not. But like the tools that they play, they could literally play the exact same comps and do the same thing they did.
And
like we could just repeat the match and play the exact same meta with Zarya not in it, and it could be the exact same result because they don't need it.
There's some variance in there. Like how many times does London win that matchup out of 10?
Sure, but the point being is that like there's not like the point being is that more so there's been no external circumstances to change the matchup essentially, right? And I favor Boston's roster. I favor Boston looked really coordinated in how they dealt with it. They showed multiple looks. They were using Orisa to isolate players. They were using Lise Gon to like boop the TPs, to like set up plays. Like Decay was fucking farming. Decay was farming, honestly, on the Genji. Like, there was, I think that like they have a lot of different looks, even if they just repeated the match without even using the current meta. Like the current meta is irrelevant to both those teams because Boston beat them on the old meta and London doesn't play the new meta. So like, it just doesn't matter. I just
think like that matchup, Admiral had like 3 Ajaxes in one series.
Yes, but also part of that is
there's
because
a world where like he doesn't Ajax once in that series.
That is true. It was a poor series from Admiral, but I think also Admiral was under pressure to not beat because of the fact that the Genji Blade is such a fight win, and so Admiral was like really pressured often to hold the beat to the point where like it put them in really bad situations. I think he probably overheld. He retained a little too hard.
A little. So. But there's some variance, so I'm not counting on Spitfire out. To me, there's a world where they can beat the Boston Uprising, even though Boston Uprising are favored, and we're predicting them. All right, so moving on. We got Atlanta Reign against the Boston Uprising. This is a tough one.
I personally just have Atlanta until Atlanta shows that they're actually floundering. I think I still just have Atlanta in this matchup.
I would just assume Atlanta are floundering.
Are we gonna have any upsets?
What makes you assume that? The rumors that they're trialing off takes is the only thing that's like, they're exploding. This is like Boston at the start of the year when we're like, this team is internally exploding, and then it was fine. It was fine.
Exactly. It was fine.
So why can't
this match is going to be fine?
Why can't the same be said for Atlanta then? They were trying people, but it ended up not coming to anything, but it's fine,
because
right?
Boston are beating the narrative.
Okay, bro. Well, I'm trying to convince the other fucking 3 people in this call because Jaws is a lost cause.
I mean, here's the thing. I think that Lip Stalker is just such a fantastic damage duo for this meta, if this is the meta. The backline is super solid that I feel like I kind of have to favor Atlanta Reign. But I still, again, I wish I could pull up the stats lab for this, but Boston Uprising, they have played Kalios sometimes this year, especially for escort maps, right? Like Shambali, I think they played some Zarya, for example. And I think they've looked good. Like, that was one of their best maps, if I recall correctly. Again, I don't have the stats on hand. And so I feel like this meta would actually be surprisingly good for the Boston Uprising. So I think it's a map 5. I'm just a little bit undecided, but I probably had to go Atlanta Reign.
But yeah, what if it's not the meta? What if you just have Smurf on Winston or Smurf on a main tank?
Sure. It can be whatever you want, Jaws, until it's actually there.
Until we decide. I mean,
what if it's a Rhine meta?
What happens if Atlanta plays Roadhog? You know, they could play Roadhog, and then it could work.
I don't think that's happening. I don't know.
We said the same thing about Seoul Dynasty, and they did great last year.
Facts. I'm down with 3-2 for Rain. I think Boston will win that, but yeah, I just...
At some point, we're gonna start throwing some 3-0s in there because this will be the trip up every time. Every game is a giga banger.
Playoffs though, like all the games are normally pretty.
I mean, this is a far more concentrated playoffs than our previous playoffs.
Pick maps.
It's only 8 teams and losers pick maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot less 3-0s happen when losers pick maps. Like playoffs generally are giga long.
I'm gonna lean into the Stalker Lip Sojin Genji combo as being superior,
which is pretty fair.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, also they have Chio Fielder, which is gonna be a really good
Decay in the playoffs. So. He might just not play.
Jesus Christ! Quick sign striker, quick get him,
bring him back.
Oh god.
Yeah, I think I would probably lean. I would still lean Rain. Overall, I think it's just a question of like, if they roll up with Protect on off tank though, I don't know. Like,
come on, like,
okay.
I feel like Stalker is one of those Genjis that honestly, if you can communicate a freaking Zarya bubble, like you're good. Just bubble Stalker on Genji, and he'll just like pull out the fight win. He'll just get a pick in the backline, and you're good. Like, it can't be that hard. No?
Yeah. It just you just like say, I just love this. Like, it's so simple. No. It can't be that hard to just fucking kill everybody, right?
Just kill them, forehead. Just kill them.
Fucking kill the Boston Uprising. It's not that fucking difficult, bro.
Sorry bubble Stalker, and that's all you need. All right? Just communicate the bubble.
Press E,
and then you're good. And grab, but you know,
but just grab into a Genji. It'll be fine.
No, they'll be sick. They'll be sick. I don't know why I'm doubting Deadlands Rain. I'm not doubting them. All right, moving on. London Spitfire against the Boston Uprising again in the losers round. I don't see the run back this time around.
Run back? No, Boston. Bye.
I mean, I
don't feel good about London going out in groups.
No, neither do I. It feels really dirty, actually.
But I think we are overrating this London Reinhardt. Like, I feel like we've just like London. Let's look at the people that London Spitfire has beaten in the last bit. I think we're at the meat and the potatoes of their tournaments. The teams that they've beaten. Let me ever since they picked up the Reinhardt. So when they played last time, they didn't play the Reinhardt was against New York Excelsior on July 15th. Right? We all remember how fucking horrendous that match was.
Yeah,
okay?
Dorado dive.
Dorado, yeah, it was bad. Okay, then they beat Shock, Valiant, Gladiators, Vegas, Valiant, lost to Houston, lost to Boston, then beat Shock, Washington, Vancouver, Toronto. They have not beaten a great team since they started playing the Reinhardt, and they lost to 2 good teams. Every time that they came up against a good team, they fell. Yes, that match against Houston was close. Yes, I think the Reinhardt is solid, but do I just think that gives them a leg up against these teams when it hasn't already throughout the season? I don't agree with that.
Boston 3-0.
Okay, well, I don't agree with that.
No, I think it should be... No, I think it should just be like
another 3-2 or a 3-1.
I think it should be a 3-1. Personally, it should be a 3-1. Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
They've learned from the mistakes.
Man. I just got such good vibes for the Spitfire team.
Yeah, honestly,
I think
the vibes are exceptional.
They are
exceptional. No one has ever said the vibes were bad. Okay, no one's ever said, okay, we are Spitfire. Okay, we are Spitfire, but unfortunately,
we are Spitfire. That's true. That's true.
We Spitfire.
We Spitfire. Yeah.
I feel like with that Custa rant, the vibes for London Spitfire just went down immaculate.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope London kind of just like throw their Reinhardt and it works, but I just don't see it.
All right, there you go. Advancing from Group A, we got Atlanta Rain and the Boston Uprising. Pretty unsurprisingly, but there you go, and they're seeded into the semis. Moving on to Group B, we got the Dallas Fuel because the Seoul Infernal.
Put the 3-0 in there. We got to throw some 3-0s.
I'll go 3-0. This is my 3-0. I'll give you a 3-0.
There's not enough 3-0s. There's got to be more 3-0s.
Seoul Infernal gets first map pick though.
What are they gonna pick? That's so genius.
Yeah. I don't know. Fucking Ilios or some shit.
I feel like this side of the bracket is just so easy, bro.
I think Infernal's gonna take a map.
What map? Well, okay, I want you to defend this. What map are they taking? Which one are they going for?
I don't have the. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the map. All I know is it won't be Control. It won't be Control.
Hey guys, King's Row is back.
King's Row. I think Infernal will take a map, and I don't know the map because I just feel like there's silliness in the air.
I know why Avast has gone for the 3-1 result. It's because Dallas Fuel plays Salt of the Earth Overwatch, and they only get.
They play Salt of the Earth Overwatch 3-1. Okay, we clock in. Get one map, get another 3, you know, or lose one.
That's what Dallas Fuel do. They play
3-1. I don't see the 1. I'm sorry.
No, but I think it's a 3-0.
I mean, it's a 3-0.
Wow, brutal. We're sorry, Infernal fans. Brutal. 3-0, Dallas Fuel.
It'd be like that.
Another 3-0. Here we go.
Another really brutal game here. A little 3-1 to the Florida Mayhem.
No, not to the Houston Outlaws. To the Florida Mayhem, and I will be giving... I think a 3-0 would be harsh. I think a 3-1 seems reasonable, but I feel like also it's an underrated Houston a bit because like what if they do like some map picks where like they have Bernar plays Zarya and then like Fearless come into play some like weird shit and like it's kind of like good. Like I don't know. I think
what's he gonna play?
Yeah, what is he gonna play, bro? Like
Winston Doom? Well, you know, I mean, I think I'll put a 3-1. I'll put a 3-1.
Yes, I think 3-1 is the most reasonable out of all of them.
Mayhem higher seed?
I would.
Mayhem have the higher seed, yes.
Right.
I would love to see a Houston versus Hangzhou semifinal and just see if Houston are like, we can play Fearless. Let's play Fearless into the Hangzhou Spark. We don't have to play this Zarya bullshit. Fuck Bernar, bench him, and just go back to Fearless. All right, yeah, Florida Mayhem. Sure. The vibes are bad. The vibes are bad with the Houston Outlaws. I need to do a Custa rant about who they've beaten and not. Whatever. But, all right. Moving on to losers. Seoul Infernal.
Which means Infernal beats them because Outlaws have bad vibes.
Oh, I mean, this is a clash of bad vibes. This is the all-time bad vibes matchup right here. Seoul Infernal against Outlaws.
Outlaws?
Of course!
3-0.
I know the Outlaws vibes are bad, but like...
Are you sure?
It was like a solid question
mark. I will be taking Outlaws. I will be taking Outlaws for sure.
Yeah, I'll give
3-0. I think this is a 3-0.
Are we going Seoul Infernal out without a map? Are we actually sending Seoul Infernal home without a map?
I told you Infernal gets a map versus Fuel. I said Infernal gets a map versus Fuel.
I agree. I think if we're going to give 3-0 to the Houston Outlaws, I want them to get a map from Dallas.
Oh, you're giving a fucking... You're giving a map to be nice.
Dallas always give a charity map. That's the way they do things.
Also, they've just been kind of like, they've been kind of floundering a bit all season. They've always like had some weird moments, you know, while Outlaws have been really, really consistently good the whole year, you know?
How will they beat them?
How will they beat them? They will. Okay, so wait, let me run it through. Let me run it through. They're not going to control. So I think on either Escort or
map 5,
I guess because I guess technically Escort's map 5. Yeah, I was right. I guess on either
Flashpoint can only
Flashpoint
insane
or maybe Hybrid. I think their Infernal will probably cap more of the objectives faster than Fuel will.
So Kings Row in Midtown Blizzard World, you think that they're better on speed in those.
I'm not saying they're better holistically. They're just gonna be better in this one.
Infernal's gonna play Mag Wrecking Ball in Blizzard World. I'm fucking calling it right now.
There it is.
Was that what you were gonna say as well?
Scott knows the tech. Yes. Scott knows the tech. Mag Wrecking Ball Blizzard World. That's the tech.
Sure.
Oh, actually, wait, no. Infernal last minute signing Bellis Rhea. Oh wait, no, he's on Overwatching team. You couldn't have done Bellis.
He's on Overwatching team.
Yeah, you couldn't do it. Damn it. Okay, Seoul Dynasty. Their org collapses, retroactively saying that they weren't an Overwatch League team, so thus Bellis Rhea could be signed to play ball. There we go.
I got. Here we go. Here, Poco comes in and plays the best Zarya game you've ever seen, but only for one map.
That's true.
Only for one map.
Oh, that would be so funny. That would be so fucking funny. Oh my god.
Oh god. All right. Moving on. With the bracket. Dallas Fuel against the Florida Mayhem. This is a Florida Mayhem sim podcast, but...
Florida Mayhem.
You know what this is? This podcast is like Johnny gets Jake whispering in his ear about Houston on the broadcast, and here we just have Avast whispering in our ears.
Jake has what? I mean, what ties does Jake have left to Houston?
It's that I overlooked for all of preseason. I overlooked the Houston Outlaws roster, and I'll never forget myself for ranking them low in the preseason power rankings. And I didn't put enough respect on the Outlaws. And I feel like we just kind of like forgot that Houston Outlaws were like a top 2 team the entire season, and now we're like, oh, vibes are bad. They signed a 6th player. Like I feel like they're probably as good as ever. Like
what? But no one's saying they're bad.
I mean,
they had a worse regular season. They finished below Mayhem. Like they didn't like what? No one's saying that Outlaws are bad. Like no one is saying this. You're just. Like,
I've been getting bad vibes.
Like, cope you're
I've been getting
get?
bad vibes this entire podcast. When I had you guys talk about the Houston Outlaws, everyone was like, they signed Bernar.
Well, also it is bad because also Outlaws aren't bad. It's still going to be obviously worse though because they're going from their longtime MVP like level main tank player to a meta that's not fearless based to a new player that hasn't played Overwatch in a fucking year. Like, of course it's not going to be the same. Like, that's just nonsense. What do you think he gets automatically put into the bubble and just instantly transforms? Is this like some sort of like, is it like is it fucking Age of Empires where I upgrade the unit?
Just bubble the Genji. Just bubble the Genji. It's all right. Just press grab. No. You know, you shoot it in a general direction.
His Twitter bio says retired professional Overwatch player still.
It's fine. It's fine. Just bubble the Genji. Bubble the Genji.
The level of cope is fucking crazy.
You know, maybe you don't even have to aggro grab. Just like grab your own supports when they dive. I don't know.
Fuck, you're not a coach, bro. Holy fuck, dude. Just look, they're not going to be as good as.
What are you talking about? What? I would be a great coach. What are you talking about?
Are you listening to what you're saying right now?
Look at the how inspiring I am.
Look at this professional Overwatch player. He got announced hours ago.
Yo, that cat's cute as fuck.
He hasn't. I mean, that's just insanity.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. They got Shu and Violet. They got one of the greatest maps of all time. They got Pelican Genji.
All right, Houston wins. I've seen enough.
Yeah. There you go. How can you say no to that?
Aren't we doing Dallas?
We are. We're doing the Dallas view for the Mayhem.
Dallas Mayhem. Dallas Mayhem, yeah.
Yeah. Mayhem? 3-0?
No, yeah. I'm giving Dallas a map.
Give him, oh, sure. No, give Dallas one,
yeah. I think Dallas is worthy.
They deserve one.
Honestly, in this meta, I'd be tempted to give Dallas I'd almost be tempted to give Dallas 2 maps.
I think Dallas, dude, this has to be the meta. Like, come on. It's got to be the Dallas meta.
I think so good.
Okay, but I agree that it is the Dallas meta, but I don't think I've seen them play. Like, there hasn't been a time throughout this entire year where I'm like, Dallas is fully back, baby. Like, and until they can do that, I think it's hard to say that they're going to be better than Florida. Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pred them in my... like, I'm just going to assume that Dallas are going to peak at the right time and that they're going to work this shit out.
These are predictions. It's about foresight,
and
Custa.
I don't believe it.
You need to see in the future.
Okay, and in the tea leaves, I don't see it. Okay, sorry, Dallas fans. Okay, one last L from me on Plat Chat before the league crumbles.
I hope we'll be fine. I hope you get to cast at least one Dallas game this playoffs.
I hope so.
I want you to.
Wait, let me...
Knowing the schedule, trying to think if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I might be.
All right. There's a small chance, I think.
What is going to be good is that we get the battle for Texas, baby. Houston Outlaws against the Dallas Fuel. The battle for Texas.
Live
bro, this is so hard.
Bernar against Hanbin in a battle for the ages.
I mean, at the end of the day, if it is the meta, I actually might give it to Dallas Fuel. Like, straight up.
I want to say fuck it in one matchup here in our bracket.
I think I'll go Dallas.
That's the fuck it match. That's the fuck it match.
I think Houston worry me that they've signed Bernar so late in the game. Yeah, I'll go Dallas as well.
3-2 Dallas.
You guys, I don't care about logic or consistency. Don't care, bro. Don't care.
Fuck it.
This is the fuck it match.
This is you guys a vibe check. Have you guys seen that movie Troy, where at the beginning of the movie, you just send forth your champion and you end the whole war. You don't even have a war. It's just your champion versus the other army's champion, and it's just Bernar versus Hanbin, and that's it. Rush just proposed that. Rush is just like, bro, we're just gonna 1v1. Sorry, that's it.
Yeah. So are you saying Bernar is Troy or Hanbin's Troy? Or fucking
no, that's not Troy.
No, that's not Troy. Fucking whoever the fuck his name is. Brad Pitt. Who's Brad Pitt?
Achilles.
Okay, so
there you go.
So, I'll be right. that's what I'm saying. Is there no upsets in this bracket at all, guys? Is this what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be
this will be an upset in Houston.
So this will be the upset then. Okay,
yeah,
that's the upset game.
Upsetting Houston is the upset.
This is the upset game. Cool.
I went from full like Houston Outlaws are great to just like, fuck it, you lose in the second round. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I mean, you actually have no morals. I
don't. I'm just here to have fun and say fuck it.
You know, like, we got to give APAC like an olive branch, right?
Okay, sure. I mean,
they need
honestly, I've been underrating Outlaws all year. Fuck it, you know, like why not? Just give it to Fuel.
That's true. Wow, Plat Chat really does fucking hate the Houston Outlaws. Like, you guys did them so dirty at the beginning of the season, and now at the final moment after a great year.
I'm not even agreeing. I'm caving into pure pressure, man.
Oh, so I'm the only one who encourages this result now? Okay.
Yeah.
Who's on board? Who's genuinely willing to stand by the 3-2
No,
Pred?
I'm not standing on this.
Absolutely.
3-2
I'll do it. It's funny. Yeah, I'll stand by.
Yeah, sweet.
Okay, so Custa and Avast.
I'm staying in the middle.
Responsibility.
I'm just staying in the middle.
I've abdicated my responsibility.
I hope both teams have fun. That's what I hope.
There we go. All right, move on.
All right. Sorry, Outlaws fans. Sorry. The bracket can't be all logical and sensible. Something weird has to happen. And we decided it's not London Spitfire. We decided
Give this one to Fuel, by the way. Just give it to Fuel for the jokes.
Because
they go to grand finals.
Too much.
They go to grand finals.
Guys,
Wait, what do you mean?
Guys, it's Hanbin versus Protect. Come on.
Atlanta Rain against Dallas Fuel.
Sounds good to me.
Gator just came out and said, give an unequivocal, we're not signing anyone. But could that be bait? I don't know. Could it be bait?
Oh, okay. No, it's not bait. It's real. I believe Gator.
I think it's probably real. Because, like, why? It just doesn't make any sense. So, like, I think I would take Rain in the matchup. They go take Rain.
Could Gator have said that like an hour ago, like 2 hours ago, when we were like heavily in the room discussing the rumors and shit? Like, oh, are they gonna sign somebody? Like 10 minutes ago, he says this, and now it's just out. You know what? We have to re-record the whole show now. Ridiculous.
Well, I for one, I welcome. All right. So, I mean, this was obviously, wow, this is gonna suck because people have probably realized by now this is a pre-recorded episode, so we're recording this. You know, around the time of this tweet, like actually, like.
Well, this tweet is also UK time or European time, so it's not 8:24 p.m. It's 12:30.
Yeah, well, no,
like
it is
midday.
actually. This was 10 minutes ago. Yeah, so this was 10 minutes ago, and our entire episode was pre-recorded until then. So, but
go scroll down to Anta's reply. Scroll down.
Plat Chat, we changed our philosophy, we changed our stance, and we actually like basking in rumors for the time being and shit talking. So,
it's all we got. What do you want from us?
Yeah. We made a heel turn. Brennon's no longer on the podcast. We're free to talk about rumors because we're goofy like that. So
also, that's generally what happens when you're going into a playoffs and a week before we don't even know what the patch is and there are rumors that teams can sign players at the final hour. Like, of course, we're gonna have to talk about rumors.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. That being said, Hawk versus Hanbin. Maybe they'll play
but
Zarya.
it's not
Maybe
just Hawk versus Hanbin.
We don't know what the meta will be.
That's the only thing. They're going to 1v1 in the middle.
There's Geo Fielder. There's, you know, a Stalker Lip.
Logic would dictate Rain just kind of roll.
I would have Rain winning this. Rain.
Yes.
They literally just have Fuel's championship backline with like what looks to be with potentially like, you know, one of the top 3 players ever touched the game.
They just dominate Fuel. Is it 3-0?
A 3-1 maybe is, you know.
I'm happy to be a 3-1, Andy.
Yeah, 3-1 Andy.
Yeah, 3-1. I'm down for a 3-1.
Sure.
Andy.
I think with losers pick going 3-0 is like there has to be a massive discrepancy between.
By the way,
you have to be like the Infernal.
Last year playoffs, 9 out of 22 matches were 3-0s. 9 out of 22.
Oh,
I went back and counted.
Wow, really? Holy shit!
Guys, we need to backtrack and make some more 3-0s.
Well, I think that was different because that was a fucky as shit meta where it's like, were you good at Winston, Lucio, Kiriko? No? Okay, sorry, you lost the game.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess you just get rolled if you don't.
There's a lot more variance here, I guess.
All right. This is gonna be funny if Houston Outlaws win the entire thing. Florida Mayhem against the Boston Uprising.
Or if London win the entire thing.
Dude, honestly, I would kind of enjoy that narrative.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would.
Yeah. Okay,
London,
Florida 3-1.
Florida,
get fucked.
Yes, I would.
Let's go. I was gonna say get fucked, Jack, and then Jack agreed with me. So.
No, that's just like cheering in the background, like, yeah, guys.
I think Florida are gonna win the whole thing.
Okay, actually,
I think they just win the whole thing.
Can we go 3-2 Boston and then have Florida
The third place match?
Win the third place match.
No,
Yes,
no,
I want Florida to win the third place match.
That's the worst
It's not even
possible
on
time.
there.
It's not even on there. Oh my god.
There's no third place match here. Is there?
Dude, even the old website forgot about it. They forgot about this match. It has no relevance.
Wow. That's
literally no relevance.
Crazy.
The third place match, because it doesn't impact anything. The third place, it literally doesn't matter. It is an irrelevant match.
Yeah, I mean, 3. I'd give it a 3-2. It could be a banger.
This is an Atlanta Boston Grand Finals.
Yeah, no. Switch. What the fuck? No. Mayhem.
It's gonna be a Mayhem.
3-2 Mayhem. 3-2 Mayhem.
Yeah.
3-2.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And this is a hyper banger Mayhem victory in the end.
I actually agree. I think Florida Mayhem win the whole thing. Absolutely. I have all faith in the Florida Mayhem winning.
Really?
Yeah. I really do.
I'm sorry. I kind of don't want Florida to win because they signed WhoRU like a week before the playoffs.
I actually think that is going to be something that's like, it's going to put an asterisk on it of like, if they do win, I think it is going to be on the back of like WhoRU Genji, that kind of like,
that's the rules,
like,
baby.
Obviously the rest of the team is going to be exceptional and that's why they're going to win. But WhoRU could be that like difference maker that sort of puts them over. And I think that's just so fucking stupid. The guy was playing to qualify 2 weeks ago on a different team. How is he playing in the playoffs on a team that didn't even fucking need him? They had Checkmate. They didn't even need WhoRU.
Yep.
Justice for Checkmate.
We needed WhoRU.
Okay, yeah, you should.
We needed it. Mayhem needed WhoRU. Albert laid out all the ground rules. It was needed. It was necessary. Outlaws started the arms race, okay? They were trialing Bernar like way before. They did it before anyone else did anything. They started the arms race, okay? Let's just say that Outlaws is at fault for everything wrong here. And that's why they didn't make it to the grand final.
Everything that is wrong, it is Outlaw's fault.
There you go. Kicked off many.
No, that's crazy. It's like the Florida Mayhem. They're handing out this like how to defend yourself if people call you frauds, and it says, say it was an arms race.
Scroll down.
Houston did it, and that everyone's just gonna parrot the same PR speak. Oh
true.
my god!
It's true.
Oh my god!
It's true.
That is insane.
Jesus.
I mean, look.
God.
If them the rules. You can
Yeah,
play
that's
them,
true.
bro. Like,
I don't blame the teams. I don't blame any of the teams.
If there was like,
I don't blame Albert in the slightest. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame any of them. But
yeah, you want them to fail. Curious. Curious.
I guess I kind of did say that. Not quite. No, I don't want them to fail, but I'd probably want Atlanta Reign to win. I think I'm going
that's
Atlanta
the definition
in this
of
one.
failing. They've lost.
Well, they got second place.
But that's obviously the goal is to win.
All right, Avril, where you going?
My heart says Florida. Honestly, my heart says Florida.
My heart says Florida as well, Johnny. You've been overruled.
I feel it. I feel the WhoRU difference.
Really?
Let's
go.
I want to go 7-map Giga Banger though.
I feel.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I feel the Florida cheating allegations are true. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
they are the cheater team.
Hold on. Pump the fucking brakes. Hold on for a little moment here. Okay?
No.
Oh my god. I'm alone in my opinion.
welcome to Plat Chat.
So Hawk versus someone Zarya, okay? Like, sure, someone is like a hyperflex tank or whatever, can pick up the Zarya. Hawk, really good off-tank player, whatever. Like, Atlanta Reign, I just can't overlook their damage and support line. Like, those 4 players are just so unbelievably fantastic. And I just feel like we're just... I feel like we're disrespecting them a little bit.
Okay.
What, by giving them
Counterpoint.
3 maps?
Counterpoint, I think there is a world in just a Sojin Genji meta that merit WhoRU is better than Lip Stalker.
Yeah.
I think it's
Could
close. And like, do I think merit WhoRU is a better DPS line overall? No. But I think right now in this meta, that's going to be super
Somehow, WhoRU is still the best Genji ever to exist.
It's because it's all he's ever played. He came out of the womb holding a fucking Genji blade. Like,
and he came out at the right time. He didn't qualify, but no, hey, guess what? He's in.
I need Avast.
And he's going to grand finals.
I need Avast to leak the Mayhem versus Atlanta Reign scrimbucks right now. Who's been who?
Yeah.
I will say the Scrimbucks have been pointing heavily towards a Mayhem victory. Okay.
Lock it in. Mayhem's taking the lead. Lock it in.
Scrimbucks have been pointing heavily towards a Mayhem victory. Rain have been still pretty good though. Obviously, they've still been really good. So like, I don't think it's like. And once again, Scrimbucks are not an indicator of anything. Scrimbucks are not reliable, and they should not be used for anything.
Leak the replay code. I don't want.
Really, what you guys are all forgetting is that the true power here is that actually the whole reason I wanted to get a coach team at Toronto is so I can sprinkle slow dissolving plastic acids into the keyboards of the opposing teams, and so when they go to play, it starts to goopify, and they're like, "Whoa, what's happening?"
Oh, right.
And then they're like, "Oh no, the freak weather here in Canada has all these freak plastic eating microbes have been eating our keyboards, and then it's gonna fall apart, and then they won't be able to pause because the league they don't have any staff left, so there's no one to like give them replacement keyboards or anything, so it's over, it's done."
Yeah, that's how that works.
Did you also break Stats Lab so we couldn't counter you with stats?
Yeah.
No, because I have never cared about stats. So
okay, so
didn't you literally want to reference them earlier, saying Merit had the best certain stats?
I did that in the knowing full well that you couldn't counterpoint me with the actual real stats because it was dead.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, going back to the bracket quickly, Solomon. I guess it seems then that I'm the only Atlanta Reign predictor here. I'll probably go with an Atlanta Reign 4-2, but everyone else is for the Mayhem, just to make it clear.
And you know what? I think we would have predicted more for Reign too if they had ever been interesting on social media too.
That's true.
So,
like literally, there is a lot of Florida hype around literally just someone. Like people like someone, so they think Florida is the best team in the world.
Well, I mean, they're not wrong though.
If Donghack was more marketable, I think Atlanta would be, to the moon.
Anyway, Mayhem win, so that's great. Yeah, good job, everybody. Yeah, there's the Plat Chat bracket. Honestly, infallible. It's an insane bracket from us.
Guarantee.
Almost a guarantee.
Guarantee. There it is.
There it is.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's a really
Let's just
good
leave it
one.
right there. Let's just leave it right there. That's fine.
Before we finish, show the Bad Patch Mario bracket real quick.
Yeah, let's see what the VP bracket
dude,
is.
Let's see what's not going to happen.
Honestly, his bracket is good for us. Is what you can take away from that.
Is it really that heinous? I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I think it's like
heinous.
It's heinous but plausible. That's the
I mean,
crazy part.
the thing is, this is a very so we all have a lot of complaints about the 8-team bracket, but I think an 8-team playoffs bracket is like there's a lot of options for a lot of different outcomes because there's a lot of these are literally just the best of the best teams, and also because of how good London has continued to be. And the meta swap for fuel, I think this is a playoffs where a lot of things could happen. I don't think there's a guaranteed, there are favorites, but there are no, other than Infernal, there are no teams that I'm like, they're done. They don't think they have any chance at all.
Yeah. Dude, the salty run back from London Spitfire versus the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man.
And then we got Seoul Infernal beating Dallas Fuel. Love to hear the justification on that one.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best storyline here would be if Bad Pachimari in the finals, in the playoffs bracket,
he gets this correct.
Right.
Exactly correct. Everything went right in this one bracket.
And the crazy part is we can't even thank him in person because he's not going.
What?
He's not going. So.
He's not going?
Oh, lucky.
Yeah.
All right.
What's
the point?
Well, there you go.
He does have Florida beating Houston in the third place. The very important third place game, though.
Yeah.
So it's a W for Mayhem.
Congratulations, Florida. Really happy.
Bronze medals.
They can offset their cost of WhoRU by winning the third place match.
The WhoRU does not cost like $90,000
offset,
a month.
Problem solved.
So Solomon wants us to predict the third place match between Dallas Fuel and the Boston Uprising.
Boston Uprising 3.
I would take Boston. Yeah, I would take Boston for that. Boston
3-0, let's go.
Place.
Boston 3-0 over Dallas Fuel.
And Kariv plays.
Yep, Kariv's
Okay.
Kariv plays.
Yep.
Wow, we cared about as much that match as the players will.
Okay.
All right, that does it for the 2023 playoffs episode. Again, this episode was pre-recorded on Monday before the Gator tweet. maybe even before some announcements were made. So take everything you've heard here with a grain of salt. This was, 24 hours before it airs, whatever. But no, I know. Well, we still have Bren's Player of the Week to go through, and everyone's just waiting for Bren's Player of the Week, Jaws, of course.
True,
so
true.
Bren's Player of the Week.
I have someone to nominate, unless you guys have someone in mind. I would like to nominate Solomon, our amazing producer, for making a 5-box and making this chaotic episode possible. Because I asked Solomon, like, hey, Solomon, what do you think about if we have 5 people on at once, 30 minutes before the episode? And Solomon, literally in Discord, went like, sure, and then started cooking like I've never seen someone cook in OBS before, and made sure that this camp could happen. So thank you, Solomon, for making the 5-box work. I really had fun this episode, and it was thanks to Solomon. So that's my nominee for Bren's Player of the Week.
I'll echo that.
Solomon!
Yay,
Solomon!
Yay! Thank you, Solomon!
Who got it last week?
There we
go. There it is.
And look at him go. He did it. He did it.
He did it.
Yeah. And it wasn't even scuffed. It wasn't even scuffed graphically. It makes sense. Yeah. We even hid Avast during the certify.
Yeah,
it's great.
That's true.
That's perfect. Yeah. So there you go. Next week, we'll see after the playoffs when the playoff episode comes out, because obviously we'll travel home from Toronto as well. So we'll see when people are situated and all that stuff, and how we can make that happen. But thank you, everybody. It's been an amazing Overwatch League regular season play-ins, and looking forward to the playoffs. I just want to thank you guys for a great season of Plat Chat Overwatch. It's been great.
Thank y'all.
See you in Toronto.
Let's go, baby.
See you soon, baby. Let's go.
See you in Toronto. Let's end on a high note. Let's go. Send us home. Send us home, Solomon. I don't know home where, but I mean, close the show. Goodbye.